Hey everyone, skull902 here. Now I know that the anniversary was a couple months ago, but my channel is officially 10 years old now. It was created on April 28th, 2008, and has since gained over 1,100 subscribers as well as 327,000 video views. I can't thank you guys enough for the love and support throughout this time, from the new subs to those that have stuck around since the beginning and anywhere in between. Taking some inspiration from Some Call Me Johnny and The Great Clement, I've decided to go ahead and make my own little retrospective about my time on YouTube. Though this channel started 10 years ago, I had another one that I used for 13 months beforehand, and that's what I'm going to talk about first here in 10 years plus 1 of skull902. So this whole journey started with the creation of my skull900 account on March 16th, 2007. I had an account for about a month beforehand, but I didn't do anything on it. So, the creation of skull900 is what I consider my real start on the website. Now, for the first month or so, I was watching pretty much exclusively wrestling content. At least to the best of my memory, that's pretty much all I was watching. But eventually I did start searching up more stuff about video games that I liked. First and foremost Mario, which at that point was my favorite video game series of all time. And I can remember watching speedruns. That's actually how I was introduced to speedruns. I saw one of Andrew G's runs of the original Super Mario Brothers in 5 minutes, and I was amazed by that because I was totally fucking shit at the game. So eventually that would lead me to YouTube poops, where people would take clips from the cartoons or game cutscenes or something to make some wacky fucked up thing. And that persisted for a little while, and it was through there that I got more familiar with Sonic the Hedgehog, which would soon take over Mario's place as my favorite video game franchise. I remember during this time I would see YouTube poops with the name Robotnik in the title, and for whatever reason, stupid dyslexic 13-year-old me thought that it was reading Robotink, and I thought that Robotink referred to Grounder. That's just a bit of how unfamiliar I was with Sonic at the time, but eventually that would change. Starting in the middle of May, actually. This is when I met my first consistent online friend that I would talk to for years, down the line. Her name was Sapphire. She made Sonic content of her own that I, ran into, and I sent her a message being like, hey, I like your videos, and it pretty much went on from there. But she was, a real sweet girl, taught me everything that I needed to know about Sonic, gave me the beginner's course for knowledge of Sonic the fucking Hedgehog. But it was a fun time, and YouTube would have these chat rooms that you could set up at the time. They called them YouTube streams. It's not like live streaming, it was just a chat room where you could sync up videos to watch together with your friends. Interesting concept. I'm kind of sad that it didn't really catch on, because that was a fun time. But she and I would just talk about stuff about Sonic around then, and along with Wikipedia, which I also discovered in 2007, she gave me again the beginner's course, and that's how I learned about Sonic. So pretty much all throughout the summer I was really getting into Sonic, and that's when I became a fan. It pretty much is when I met her. So I was taking in stuff like the cartoons, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sat AM, Underground, fucking everything. Watching game cutscenes to, get myself more familiar with the franchise. One thing in particular that I will never forget is the first time that I saw the OVA, which, due to, some loading problems back then, I couldn't get to work properly the first couple of times, but once I did, and I took the time to, let the video buffer, and I sat down and watched it, my computer was situated in the basement at the time, haha. But so I sat down and I turned the lights off and I just watched the movie, and it was actually really immersive to do that because all I could see was the screen, and I had a fun time watching the movie. You know, it was an enjoyable experience to me, and even though I think that the movie is just like kind of okay nowadays, I can still get some entertainment out of watching it. You know, it was a fun time learning about Sonic and just taking a lot of the media of Sonic in during that time when I was, you know, I was just a teenager at the time, just turned 13. Good stuff. Had a fun summer back then. Speaking of the summer of 2007, I actually started making videos of my own in June. They weren't uploaded to YouTube at the time because I'm, again, a fucking moron. And I didn't know the difference between like a Windows Movie Maker project file and an actual video file. So I didn't actually properly render out my videos before I deleted them. And I remember being frustrated because I didn't understand, like, hey, why isn't this uploading to YouTube? I don't get it. You know, just really dumb shit like that. But I'm also very thankful that those videos weren't up, even though videos very similar to them that I made later eventually made it on the website. Because, like, you know, in Sonic and Amy's Crazy Date, that part where I had, like, the Movie Maker slideshow, it's kind of like that, where it was just, like, a slideshow with text over pictures, there was poor grammar, awful jokes, and, like, you know, that segment of Sonic and Amy's Crazy Date is actually much better in production value because it has music, and like my videos didn't. Most other people's videos had music, and they would actually like change the character's picture depending on the emotion that they were conveying. I didn't do that either. So my videos, like, even though all those videos are of a particular quality, I'll say, mine were the shittiest that could possibly have been made under that format. It was just awful, but June 2007 is when I started making videos that I intended to put on YouTube. Aside from just general Sonic stuff, like official Sonic media, I also got into various different things, like YouTube poops, like I mentioned earlier, Smosh, gag dubs where like someone would take a cutscene from a game or whatever and play silly dialogue over it, plush adventures. I'm remembering specifically shows like Robot Mario. There was a show called Robot Mario and a channel called Sonic Gabe Mario James that I watched back then. I also got into Rooster Teeth, even though they didn't really have a presence on YouTube at the time, but they would eventually, so shut up. And of course, since that was what I started YouTube, watching YouTube with, I should say, I was also getting into wrestling channels. So I had a varied amount of stuff that I would watch back then, and it was again just a fun time, like I enjoy saying so much. In September of 2007, my little brother and I came up with the idea to start a fake production studio because, you know, every teenager has to have one, and we called it 16-Bit Productions. We made a channel for that, and it was actually surprisingly like kind of like a network that we had going on with other YouTubers. We only got like 2 other people to make videos for it, but we actually convinced other people to make videos for our fucking stupid channel. But the kind of things that were on it were like another plush adventure series that was called the Sonic and Shadow Show. That was what one of my friends made for it. My little brother and another friend of mine made pivot stick figure animation videos for it. But like the flagship show for 16-Bit Productions was a show called Sonic vs. Mario. Not Sonic and Mario, the show that I have now, but it was called Sonic vs. Mario. And that was actually the videos that I was making in June that I couldn't upload to YouTube. I actually deleted the first season of it after I, got rid of the project files. So Sonic vs. Mario on YouTube, anyway, started with season 2. And boy, what a mess that fucking shit was. Pretty much all the problems that I mentioned earlier, like god-awful jokes, poor grammar, it's just a boring, musicless, text-over-picture slideshow that Oh God, I'm glad that that's gone from the internet. It seems, but yeah, it was just, ooh, horrible, horrible. I I can't apologize enough to anyone who might have actually seen that, and if they remember it, because it was bad. It was really fucking bad. Also in September, I watched a video that was a Halo mod someone made that put like Sonic related stuff in it. So like they changed the Banshee into the Tornado 2 from Sonic Adventure, and you know they put like Sonic characters in there and whatnot. And I was like blown away by this, and I started coming up with what would become Sonic and Mario. That gave me an idea, and I wanted that mod so that I could make a machinima, because again I really liked Red vs. Blue. But like Sonic and Mario started out as an idea where Sonic would be taken into the Halo series, and it was going to be called Sonic and Blood Gulch. It was going to be a complete and total Red vs. Blue ripoff. Again, this was very early. I was coming up with even shittier ideas than I have now. It was god awful, and I regret it every single day. Now here's a big one. In September, I believe, anyway, it could have been at any point between like September 07 and April 08, but for the sake of just like my memory, I met a mutual friend of ours in September, and I'm fairly certain he was also in the chat. I met Rabid Sonic Fan in September of 07 in one of those YouTube streams that I mentioned earlier. And Rabid has been a completely wonderful person to me, absolutely awesome friend and creative partner. His help to the channel has been invaluable. He's like a really funny writer, talented voice actor. He's fun to hang around, and he's just a wonderful guy. I can't say everything that I want to say about him, because I can't come up with that many nice things, because there's just too many to think of in a reasonable amount of time. I love you, man. So that gushing out of the way. In November, I got like my first set of Sonic the Hedgehog merchandise, which was a 5 set of 5-inch plush dolls. It was Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Shadow that I got with the intention of making a plush adventure show of my own, which of course never came to be. But I got inspired, to do one of those shows of my own. If there's one thing that's remained consistent about me throughout all this time, is that I've been willing to get into different styles of filmmaking or whatever. So I just wanted to try it out. That show never came to be, but I actually did film a promo for the Sonic and Shadow Show Season 2 with those things. And yes, my camera back then, I didn't have a camcorder. I just had like a cell phone camera that could take video. So yeah, it was really fucking bad. But that's what I got those plushes for. And I actually got a second set 2 months later. That was it was 12-inch plushes of the same characters plus Eggman and Big. So I definitely had some ideas floating around back then. They wouldn't come to fruition, but I just think up a lot of stuff, and I don't think that's really changed about me throughout all this time. I really just overrun my mind with creative thoughts, shit that I'll never be able to do. But that's just how I've been for pretty much all my life. So, Something else I also did in 2007, near the tail end of the year, was I made like a couple stupid, fucking random, meaningless alternate accounts that like served no purpose whatsoever. I suppose one of them, it was called 1-800-SKULL. I'm not fucking joking. That couldn't be a legitimate phone number. Why did I? You know what? Whatever. And another, like the other one was called skull900X. But 1-800-SKULL actually did exclusively host, again, another awful slideshow movie maker series that I made. But like skull900X, what? Like, I don't even know what like, the only thing that I remember uploading to that channel was, like, copyrighted wrestling matches that eventually got me strikes. So, yeah, good idea, me. Just be fucking stupid like that, you know? Just really dumb ideas that I had, and I really have no idea why I made these alternate channels. Again, a lot of ideas floating around, but the vast majority of them are fucking awful, like these two channels that I made for absolutely no reason. So, remember that flagship show for 16-bit Productions that I mentioned, Sonic vs. Mario? That ended the same year that it started. December 2nd, 2007 was the finale for season fucking 5. So in less than 6 months there was 5 seasons and 32 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. Because I was just rushing these fuckers out, like, with no coherent plot or anything like that, but I've complained about that more than enough. It was shit. Let's just, you know, get on to the next point of what's on my notes here. So that ended, and then there was going to be a sequel series to that, actually. And here's how dated my fucking idea was. It was going to be called Sonic vs. 4 Kids. Like, I think the plot to it was going to be that, like, fucking 4 Kids Entertainment was going to take over the world. And Sonic the Hedgehog had to stop it. It was so goddamn dumb. Like, I don't even know, but God, I was just really fucking stupid back then. Thankfully, that never got made. There was, like, one trailer video for it, and then I just never followed through. Thank God. But, like, that was like right at the very end of 4Kids' relevancy with the Sonic franchise, because Sonic X had ended like 2 years prior, and the voice actors didn't stick around for much longer after that. So I don't know. I just don't know, man. So also in February, activity on 16-bit Productions was like slowing down. I think there was a bit of Sonic and Shadow Show going on, but nothing made by me or my brother or the other guy. So while that was stopping, I was actually uploading more to Skull900. I remember uploading, again, more wrestling matches that weren't on Skull900X. See how fucking useless that account was? And I think 1 or 2 of the videos actually got like 1 million views. I could be completely wrong about that. And my memory just failing me, but I'm fairly certain that 1 or 2 of my wrestling uploads actually did get like over 1 million views. Nothing earned, of course, because it was just stuff I was like re-uploading from WWE, but you know, whatever. But like, importantly, February 2008 was the month that I got my first of many copyright strikes. The first of which was to that video that someone made in The Sims 2 that was like a music video for I'm My Own Grandpa. I forget who made that song, but it was something that was like circulating around back then. I thought it would be a good idea to upload it to my channel. It wasn't. So yeah, that was like the first of many. YouTube didn't have a copyright ID system back then, so it wasn't like, oh, okay, this isn't a strike, it's an ID. And they also, it seems to me that like they didn't have the 3 strikes rule either, but that's something I'm going to be talking about just a little bit later from now. So in November of the previous year, like 2007, I think it was November anyway, I decided that I wanted to be a voice actor when I was, you know, grown and like went through college and all that. I wanted to do voiceover acting after watching a video about voice acting. I'm not entirely sure what I watched, but that's just the career path that I wanted to go down. So I remember bothering my mom about getting a microphone for a while, and I didn't get one until April of 2008. It was a very fucking shitty headset. I'm surprised that anyone decided to hire me to be on their shows. I mean, just have a listen to the quality in like these couple of clips here.
Have you seen Froggy? We'll be watching you. I've got you now.
It was fucking terrible. But around the time that I got this microphone is when I made like my first kind of improvement. Even though the microphone quality was terrible and I was a shit voice actor, I decided to add voices to my god-awful Windows Movie Maker slideshow videos. I think I only made like 1 or 2, but at least it was somewhat better. Like, it still had shitty jokes and no music, but at least it was somewhat better than text over images. I don't fucking know. It just, ugh. Still awful. But alas, after a series of copyright strikes in March and April for uploading various things without giving credit, because that was something you could actually get away with back then. If you put like who owned the video in the description, you could like get away with uploading something, but I didn't for most of the things that I uploaded. So in March and April I got a whole bunch of those, and since they were all linked to the same email account, skull900, 16-bit Productions, skull900X, 1-800-SKULL, and one of my brother's accounts were all removed from YouTube, suspended, done, kabang. And I wasn't very happy, and I would express this with the creation of my skull902 account. So 2008 is what I would call a year of improvement. I didn't like get good or anything like that, but like my style of video making got a lot better than it was in the past, though it would take a little bit of time. So, as I previously mentioned, I created skull902 on April 28th, 2008, after skull900 was suspended. On the first 2 days of skull902 being active, I decided to make very fucking angry videos aimed at YouTube for suspending my previous accounts. Which, of course, you know, really impulsive, dumbass idea, but, like, I was going through a shit time in my life, and I was a lot more irritable back then, even, you know, even though that was a thing, it's not really an excuse, because, like, that's probably one of the worst things that you can think of, is some kid in his early teens bitching and moaning about stuff that's completely meaningless in, you know, the grand scheme of things, but I was upset about it and I wanted them to know. I think those videos may have gotten like a total of like 6 views. So not too much damage done, but still a really stupid, dumbass decision. I should have just accepted it and moved on, which I did eventually, but not immediately like I really should have. So I mentioned Rabbit earlier. I started talking with him more regularly in the spring of 2008 after he had my back in a bit of a spat of drama. What is what I will say about that whole situation. Again, really dumb and embarrassing, but Rabbit took my side, and I appreciated that. And then we kind of started talking more on Skype and MSN Messenger. That was a thing. But that's when I started learning all the positive things that I said about him in the last segment, was, you know, that he's really funny, you know, good voice actor and whatnot. He and I have had quite a bit of a journey together, pretty much became adults side by side, you know, just being friends and whatnot. It was, it's been a good time talking to him. I'm saying pretty much all the same things that I was in the last segment, so I guess I'll just move on. That shitty Sonic Halo Machinima thing that I mentioned, Sonic and Blood Gulch, that was announced in May with a demo of character voices. I'm not going to mention who the actors that I got to be on the show were, but they were like people that I contacted from making videos that I liked watching back in the day. And much like pretty much every Sonic fan project that I've made, I was the voice of Sonic. I had a very terrible voice for Sonic that I didn't really truly realize until I listened to those recordings that I made for said demo of voices. So that's when I changed it to like the kind of voice that you would hear going from like the first episode of Sonic and Mario to I want to say like my return from the second voice acting hiatus. But again, just small improvements, learning that my original Sonic voice, I don't even remember, it was something like this, like really quiet and whatnot. Just absolute dog shit, you know. I legitimately don't even remember how I did that voice, but what I do remember is that it was bad. Very, very, very bad. So in the summertime, I decided to change up what I was doing. No remnants of the old slideshow videos that I was doing. I had gotten familiar with sprites over the previous year, and I decided to start making sprite videos similar to the ones that Kudu17, that was a guy that I watched, was making. So like I would use a text-to-speech program called Speakonia to make the characters talk. I would have the characters up on like real-life backgrounds and, you know, various things like that. I didn't put any like full animation in there like Kudu did, but it was pretty much like a sprite comic. That's what someone referred to the style as when commenting on an episode of Sonic and Mario, was that it was like watching a narrated sprite comic, and I can see where he was coming from. But yeah, so it was pretty much just a ripoff of Kudu17, like again a lot of people were doing back then, and eventually I would kind of grow out of that. But that's what I was doing in like the summer of 2008 and for like 10 months or so past that point. In July, I met another one of my good friends through YouTube, another one of my wonderful internet pals. Her name was Eli, and she was holding like Sonic auditions, and that was like the first thing that I really auditioned for on YouTube or anywhere that was soliciting voice acting auditions. But she made a video, Sonic voice actors needed, or something along those lines, and I decided to be like, hey, I'm just starting out, I could use the exposure. So I decided to audition for this show, and I think I was the only person who auditioned. I auditioned for the roles of Sonic, Shadow, and eventually I was given like the roles of Knuckles and the narrator for another show that didn't come out. But, you know, I auditioned for Sonic and Shadow and was pretty much immediately given them. I think it was like the only person who auditioned for those roles, but, you know, whatever. You know, even though that project never came to be or anything like that, our friendship didn't just last through the duration of, hey, is this thing still coming out? It was, and I mean, still is, long going. Has been going on for the last 10 years. Another very close personal friend of mine, and I'm very glad that I decided to take up those auditions, because I met someone who, just a wonderful person, great artist, just someone that I very much appreciate having in my life, and yeah, just a good decision on my part to audition, even though the audition was terrible, but I made a wonderful friend out of it. So, also in July, there was a bit of a falling out with the actors that I had for Sonic and Blood Gulch, and I realized that I probably wouldn't be able to make a Halo Machinima in the time frame that I wanted. I actually had some foresight, actually, when I came up with the idea, because I was like, okay, this is something that's going to come out in 2009 or 2010, and that was back when I came up with it in 2007, and considering like how I just wanted to rush everything out back then, I'm surprised that I had the foresight again to you know, see that this was going to take a while to set up, but ultimately it wasn't going to happen in the way that I originally thought, and thank God for that. But after I sort of realized that the machinima wasn't going to work out, I started transforming the idea, keeping the general idea of inadvertent interdimensional travel. That's what my notes say. But changing the concept a bit. It wasn't going to be Sonic traveling to another world. It was going to be the characters from Mario traveling to Sonic's world. And that's where it became Sonic and Mario. So that's pretty much like the evolution of the idea of Sonic and Mario. Came from a like red versus blue ripoff shitty Sonic mod Halo Machinima thing. So that's how that got started. Once more in July, there was a sprite fight. I know, right? You know, considering all the aversions that I've done in Sonic and Mario to actually having a sprite fight, there was a fully animated sprite fight that was on my channel. It was like a couple Sonic OCs, that my little brother took the time to animate. It was using the sprite animation process that a lot of people would use back then if they didn't have Flash. Like the low rent, I suppose, version of that would be like making the frames in Microsoft Paint and then putting it all together in Windows Movie Maker. But he spent some time on that. There was actually one shot of it that was done in Pivot, which was cool to look at. Unfortunately, I do not have this video, so I'm not able to show it, but there was a sprite fight on my channel, and that's what it was. It was a couple fucking original Sonic characters do not steal fighting over pretty much no reason, just nothing. So after a month of rethinking the concept, I announced Sonic and Mario on August 18th, 2008, and that's what this video is going to be for, is to commemorate that announcement. The 10th anniversary of that. I announced it with a video of my own seeking auditions. I again put up a voice demo for the characters that I was going to do, and again, I think the characters that I had in there were Sonic, Mario, Luigi, Knuckles, and maybe one or two more that I would go on to voice in the actual series. It was bad. Again, I was just starting out with voice acting. I had done voice acting in a way because I liked doing impressions and silly voices when I was a kid, but this was like when I was starting to get serious about it. I was untrained, still am, and very bad at it. So that wasn't very good, but I surprisingly did get a good amount of auditions from that, and I met obviously the actors that I chose for the show through that video, including KN of Sonic Song 182. That's how we met. She contacted my email with a couple of clips from her first voice demo on the channel. So she was legitimately auditioning for Rouge, which I immediately was like, yeah, you're the voice of Rouge, because her Rouge voice was amazing. And then she also put in clips of Knuckles and Eggman as a joke, hey, I know that you're not going to pick me, but here's Knuckles and Eggman as well, why not? And I thought that was pretty entertaining, but that's how I met KN, was through the Sonic and Mario auditions, and KN has, again, just been an invaluable help to me, and I hope that she would say the same things about me, but, It started a thing because I cast her for my show, and then she contacted me a couple months later. Is like, "Hey, do you want to voice this frog?" That's my first voice over for a completely original character was the Frog Prince in the Sonic Song 182 movies. I was in the very first movie, so I'm a Sonic Song 182 OG, and it's been an amazing time being on her channel. Her names, I should correct myself right there. It's been a lot of fun. They've been a help to me. I hope I've been a help to them. And I've just had a really fun time being Frog Prince, Santa Claus, and of course Big the Cat for the channel. Just absolutely wonderful. Couldn't ask for a better friend. KN has been a very supportive person, very nice. You can go to her for advice and whatnot. She's just a good pal, much like the other friends that I'm gushing over in this video. But she's been an absolute dream to work with. Very, very good person, and that's pretty much all I have to say. Again, I can't come up with enough nice things to say about my friends. So yeah. I started writing the first season of Sonic and Mario also in August of 2008. August 29th, I have as the exact date in these notes here. So, Sonic and Mario was originally going to be a more self-contained thing, self-contained episodic series, as opposed to being serialized. That's kind of an interesting thing to think about, how the series turned out. I was also gonna put in locations places from the Sonic Adventure games that I wasn't able to do, but it was going to be more episodic. Storyline things were only really going to be at the beginning and the end of each season, but instead they turned out to be the entire season pretty much. of, Sonic and Mario. Each season was a serialized thing. So, again, very different. I was just trying to figure out how to do this, and yeah. As a quick aside, this was actually around the time that I introduced my profile picture, the one that I have now. Back in the day, YouTube would allow people to choose their profile picture based on one of the thumbnails for their videos, and I really liked this one video that I uploaded that was just a black and white thing with a smiley face on it. Eventually, YouTube wouldn't let me select that one anymore, and it kept changing it to something else, so I just did up this little thing in Microsoft Paint. I was saying for the win like all the time back then, so I put FTW under the smile face. No, it doesn't mean fuck the world. And I actually did it in a different font too. I think it's Verdana, something along those lines. But eventually the smiley face would change. Like I made one for my DeviantArt account that's a bit different without an FTW. And then eventually I changed the font to Arial Black, which is my sort of standard font that I use now. There's a couple variants, like I said. But that's basically the story of my profile picture that I like to use. My symbol, as it were. But with Sonic and Mario on the horizon, I decided to give up the rights to 16-bit productions to Shadow Warrior 11, the guy who created the Sonic and Shadow show in September of 2008. I don't really know what he's up to now. He did use the name for a couple years afterward, but it's kind of the end of a chapter. I suppose after a year of being the owner of 16-bit productions, I gave those reins to Shadow Warrior 11. Just the end of a chapter of my YouTube life right there. Also remember, the first Sonic and Mario preview came out in October, so that was like the first taste of anything that people would get of Sonic and Mario. It did turn out to be different from how the show would turn out. Like, I had a series of these planned, but only one of them ever came out. Again, I'm gonna say it, thank God. But it was gonna be like a thing where like two characters would talk to each other about what the show was gonna be like. And that was the start of the very awful running gag that I had about Rouge hitting on people. Again, KN, I'm very sorry that I made you say those things. Just awful, but it was a taste, again, of what to expect with Sonic and Mario. I did mention that I had voice auditions and whatnot, and I wanted to set this series apart from the sprite videos that I was previously making and that a lot of other people were making. I didn't want to use real life backgrounds. I wanted to use the game backgrounds. I didn't want to use Speakonia. I used real voice actors. And I think that sets it apart enough to be considered a bit different. I mean, there's still sprite skits at the end of the day, but I think it's good to sort of think about what can set you apart at least a little bit from other people. And I'm surprised I kind of had those thoughts this early into my days making videos, along with the foresight that I wouldn't be able to, make the series in the first place until a couple of years after I came up with the idea. Very surprising sometimes that there was a bit of I'm not gonna say smart, but interesting thoughts and whatnot that I had amongst the mountains of awful, shitty ideas. But at the very start of the next month, in November of 2008, I experienced troubles voicing my characters. The majority of them, anyway. There was a couple of voices that I could still do, but for the next 6 months or so, I went through my first voice acting hiatus, which sucked ass. But it was just something. I just couldn't do the voices. I don't think, unlike the other hiatuses that I've been on from voice acting, I don't think that there was any pain or discomfort. It was just that I just wasn't able to do the voices. My throat did feel different. So it might have something to do with my voice maturing. Or I should have said it might have had something to do with my voice maturing. I'm not entirely sure, but again, it wasn't every character that I just suddenly couldn't voice. There were a few, but it was a really mixed bag. It was kind of weird. It was I think I could voice Sonic, or I'm sorry, like I couldn't voice Sonic, but I could voice Luigi, which is weird because like my Luigi voice was basically Sonic but with an accent. I just don't know. It was fucking weird. But during this time, I actually came up with my big voice, and I sent clips of this to KN as my audition for Big in Sonic Song 182, and I also included a link for her to buy a Big plush, and I guess she liked it enough to entertain my stupid idea and put Big in the series. So like I've said before, I weaseled my way into being in the Sonic Song show on the main cast as opposed to being on the secondary cast. So hooray for me, I cheated. During this voice acting hiatus, I wrote the script for Sonic and Mario's first episode on December 9th, and I sent it out to all the actors. They didn't have very many lines in the first episode, but whatever. They got their lines. I was happy that the first script was written. I had to delay the show to the spring of '09 due to the voice acting hiatus, but at least I was making some kind of progress with it. An idea that I didn't make progress with for a very long time was in December of 2008, I became a fan of Hellfire Comms while watching their playthrough of Sonic Adventure DX. It's kind of weird because before then, I don't know if I just watched all the shitty ones or if I just wasn't giving them enough of a chance, but I actually fucking hated gameplay videos up until that point where there was commentary done over it. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was dumb. Obviously, those thoughts have changed, but after watching Hellfire Comms, I was like, okay, I like these guys. They're funny, and I wanted to do videos like that of my own. So I became interested in doing it, and that's something that I would start thinking about to myself and trying to do some research into how to make that possible, what I needed to buy for it, and eventually I would bring it up to Rabbit a little later. But again, that's something I'm going to talk about in the next segment. But my hatred for Let's Play videos ended in December of '08, at least partially, when I became a fan of Hellfire commentaries. In 2009, that was the year where I really started finding my footing as far as what I wanted to do on YouTube was. I uploaded the last Speakonia sprite skit in January of that year, so that was the end of that. I wanted to do videos like Sonic and Mario again. Like I said, kind of trying to separate myself from other sprite video makers of the time, and have real voice actors, video game backgrounds only, or at least mostly, stuff like that. In March of that year, Sonic and Mario once again got delayed because, again, my throat wasn't feeling all that great and I couldn't voice most of my characters. It got delayed to the summer, so I think I'm going to just save any Sonic and Mario conversation until I get to that point in the year. But also in March, again, I started talking with Rabbit about my ideas for doing gameplay videos, and we created the channel Super Chaos Commentaries on March 28th of 2009. Again, we intended to do stuff in the way of Hellfire Comms, and eventually channels like Brain Scratch Comms and whatnot. That wasn't done. We did partner up again with a couple other people. Pretty much anyone who said that they wanted to make gameplay videos for us, we allowed in at the time. But between all four of us, none of us uploaded any gameplay to that channel. In fact, for the first year, the only things that were uploaded was me and Rabbit reading Pac-Man fanfiction and the Super Chaos Comms top picks for video game music or something. So, it wasn't from a lack of trying either. I don't know about the other two people that we brought onto the channel, but me and Rabbit, I know Rabbit recorded gameplay that did go up on YouTube, but it wasn't very much. And I also recorded something for Super Smash Bros., the original N64 game on an emulator, but the footage came out all wrong, which really disappointed me because The first match that I had, it was, I was going through the game as Fox, and the first match that I had was against Pikachu in Hyrule Castle, and, like, Pikachu killed himself, like, immediately into the fight. It was amazing. I don't know why Pikachu would decide to do that, but I guess he was just done. He was just done with all of this bullshit. And then, like I said, the footage of the game decided to delete itself or something weird like that. So Super Chaos Comms did not get off to a great start, or pretty much a start at all. And it would pretty much be that way for the next few years. On April 1st, my computer was infected with a worm. I believe it was a worm anyway, but that rendered it completely useless. I had to, or I should say we, because it was a family computer after all. We had to get an old computer from my grandma's house and place it in, and that's what we would use for the internet. But it was like our computer, as far as operating systems was concerned, like our computer was starting to like really get out of date because we had Windows XP. But the computer that we picked up from my grandma's had Windows 2000 on it, and my God, YouTube didn't work very well on it. Like you could still watch YouTube, but it was at a very low frame rate. It's something that I got used to, but not something I really liked all that much. It was good for reading Wikipedia though. Text doesn't take up much space, but I couldn't make videos either because Windows 2000 didn't have Windows Movie Maker, and even then, the original version of Movie Maker didn't output to WMV, so even if I had like Windows Millennium Edition, I wouldn't have been able to make videos anyway, or at least ones that I could put on YouTube. So it was kind of a lose-lose situation for me. It was pretty much just waiting for my computer to get fixed. I think we took it to a shop. I'm not entirely sure about that, but there was a bit of dormancy as far as that kind of thing is concerned. Didn't have a computer for a few months afterward. Even with my computer dead at the beginning of April, later on in that month, my throat actually did improve. And it went back to normal, and I could do all the voices that I couldn't do anymore. So I was, really happy about that. Obviously, I was able to do my voices again, and it wasn't like I couldn't record on the other computer either. So I was perfectly capable of doing that. But I was a bit curious about something. So I went over to my grandma's house, and I actually picked up a really old microphone that she had there, which is Labtech AM242. It's the very microphone that I'm recording this video with right now. I tested it out for curiosity's sake, and I was very surprised to hear that the audio quality was actually a lot clearer than that of my old headset. So I pretty much kicked that headset to the curb and started voice acting with this microphone right here. It served me very well for the last 9 years. Even though I am looking for it to get replaced, it's still a very suitable microphone. Just a good thing on my part. Again, curiosity, not always a bad thing, and it rewarded me with a very suitable microphone for my needs. Speaking of my grandma's house, I actually put two and two together. She had a working computer with Windows Vista on it. So I realized that I could make the first episode of Sonic and Mario while I was waiting for my normal computer to get fixed. I went ahead and recorded my lines on May 24th, and then I started making the frames for the episode 2 days later. I remember giving updates on my channel about the progression of the episode's production, being like, oh hey guys, Sonic and Mario, it's going to be delayed a little bit again, but the first episode's actually coming along this time. It's going to be good. I have my lines recorded and whatnot. I was trying to generate a bit of hype. Nobody ever responded to these updates. But, it was a fun time for me because I was getting this thing done that I had been looking to do for so long. And, eventually I did. On June 25th, was when everything was put together and the first episode was completely edited and done. I remember during the rendering process, actually, so like when the video was saving, that's when I learned that Michael Jackson died, was when I was rendering out the first episode of Sonic and Mario. That was a really weird thing because I was like really happy that this video of mine that I've been working on for 10 months was coming together. But then there was also like the really, sombering sort of thing about Michael Jackson dying and the circumstances that surrounded that we would eventually learn. But, that was kind of surreal to be feeling that kind of stuff all at once. It was really weird. So it was like a light mood and a dark mood around the same time. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but it was weird. The following day, June 26th, was what I had planned to premiere Sonic and Mario on, and that's how things happened. After a couple of delays, I finally had the first episode ready to go on June 26, 2009. That was the date that the series started, and I remember being on the Windows 2000 computer. It was still able to upload videos and like have videos on the hard drive, but I just couldn't make videos on there, so I sent the video to myself on email, I think, and just had it on my computer and had it for a day, and it was ready to upload and whatnot. I had it all planned out, so I uploaded it. I remember it was during like a grill out that my mom was hosting. I should have said like a grill party. But that was like when my city was blowing off their fireworks, and my mom would always hold like a yearly grill and invite family members and stuff. And I remember sitting on my computer for like a couple hours, like because I was excited about uploading the episode and seeing any kind of response that it got. So I was there for a little while, and I remember people coming up to me and being like, "Brandon, why aren't you out having fun?" Brandon's my real name, by the way. And I was just kind of like, "Oh, but there's this thing, I've been really excited about making this video and whatnot," and then I was promptly ignored, and they'd just walk away or whatever. But it was a fun time. I remember, like, that was a pretty good day. I was very happy to have finally gotten this thing done and over with. Sonic and Mario was here, and it was a lot of fun to edit and make the frames and whatnot. Just a good time that summer. Speaking of that summer, I got my computer back in July, which was actually kind of a relief, because there was another virus that infected the Windows 2000 computer, and completely fucked that one over. I don't know how we got that one, but again, just strange shit. But, my computer came back, but it didn't have sound drivers when it got fixed. That was scary. So I actually did quite a bit of the work on episode 2 of Sonic and Mario without the sound, though it wasn't anything that, like, I didn't need to listen to the voice acting like immediately when it came in or anything like that. I just needed to make the frames, and I think, like, I wrote the script out and whatnot, because I was doing all that one at a time, which is something I'll touch on later, but didn't have sound for quite a bit of the production of Sonic and Mario's second episode, but eventually it was released in August after I got the sound drivers and the voice acting and whatnot. Again, just a fun time working on Sonic and Mario. So much so that I did like a kind of a stupid competition thing between like my Dailymotion and YouTube uploads of the first season. I would like upload the episodes on the same day, and I would take a look at how many views that they got within the first day of upload, and whichever one got more, I would upload an hour earlier than the other one. Just like a bit of fun I was trying to have with the show, in addition to making it and doing the scripting and voice acting and writing the scripts and whatnot. But I already mentioned writing the scripts. I meant doing the frames. But it was a fun time. I remember trying to do a bit with Sonic and Mario and just try to have fun with the experience, which I'd say that for me personally, I succeeded in doing that, even though I consider the first season of the show bad, for many of the same reasons that I consider like Sonic vs. Mario bad. But at least I was having fun making it. Episodes 3 and 4 were released in September, after which episodes 5 and 6 got delayed quite a bit because I wanted a fight scene in there, and that's something that I was kind of leading into with the last segment. there was a planned fight scene for episodes 5 and 6. Either that or it was just episode 6, I'm not sure. Those episodes got combined, and I think that's actually a good thing because they would have been way too short individually. But, those episodes got combined due to the delays, and that was kind of like something that I really kind of challenged myself. I don't know, I get pedantic about these things, but I wanted season 1 and 2 started by the end of the year, so I combined episodes 5 and 6 so that I could get season 2 out by, the end of 2009, and I think that worked out for the better, actually. But again, episodes 3 and 4, good stuff. They came out within a pretty short distance of each other. Episode 5, however, that got delayed for quite a bit. During said delay, in October, I was a part of a group that would meet up monthly, and during our first meeting, the head of the group was like, okay guys, we had a bunch of people there who were interested in the creative arts. I mentioned that I was an aspiring actor, and that I made videos for YouTube, and the other teenagers and whatnot that were there, they also expressed interest in doing various different things. So the head of the group was, he was like, hey guys, why don't you make something for us to be shown at a future meeting? And so I immediately came up with the idea of, okay, I will write a Sonic and Mario thing about how I make the episodes. And again, I was trying to have fun making the show, and it was a fun time making what would eventually become PSA 1 of Sonic and Mario, which I find it's another thing. It was like ripping off Red vs. Blue. It wasn't even a public service announcement, it was a tutorial, but I wanted to call it PSA 1 anyway. That came out on December 8th after working on it, and the group meeting was the next day, so I showed it to them, and I'm surprised that it got a really positive response. I got a bunch of questions after the video, and we watched the first couple of episodes of the series. Again, I'm going to say it was a fun time, and again, just very surprised that I got that kind of reaction in person to having a Sonic and Mario thing shown, but I had a fun time explaining how I did sprite videos at the time. It's a bit outdated now. I've changed my methods a little bit. But, for anyone who might be interested in doing that kind of thing, I think it could be possibly an interesting look. It's definitely the bright spot of the first season era of Sonic and Mario, that PSA video, which isn't even actually a PSA, but there you go. Also in December, I decided to announce that there was going to be a spin-off series for Sonic and Mario after the show ended, starring the Chaotix. I fucking love the Chaotix as characters, Vector, Espio, and Charmy, and I felt that they deserved their own show. After writing a bit of episodes in the various Sonic and Mario seasons that I had up to that point, in writing anyway, or at least outlining, I was like, I want to make a show about these guys, and I started writing that too. And so I announced in December that after Sonic and Mario ended, whenever that was going to be, there was going to be a Team Chaotix centered spin-off called Team Chaotix. That, again, another idea that didn't really come to fruition, but it's something I could still technically do, but I'm not terribly interested anymore. Again, lots of ideas that just swirl around in my head that I've got to get out sometimes, and that was one of them. So, near the end of the year now, after a bunch of delays to episode 5, and my brother was supposed to animate the fight scene, but we just couldn't get it started. He was busy with school and whatnot. I decided, you know what, I want this episode out. I'm going to turn this into a joke. So in episode 5 of Sonic and Mario, the season 1 finale, I started the running gag of subverting the fight scenes, or reverting them, or whatever you want to say, setting them up and then having them not happen. They weren't all the same. The first one, in episode 5, was it was a long-winded rant like I'm doing right now, just about random shit. But the other ones were just a text screen for a little bit. I decided to save the big old rants for the season finales because I didn't want to bore the shit out of my audience. the very small audience that I had at the time. So yeah, the beginning of a running gag because I just couldn't exercise any patience. And episode 5 came out on December 28th because of that. So part 1 of my goal, season 1 did end in the year 2009, but part 2 would get a little close actually, because episode 6, I was making the frames actually at the same time that I was doing frames for episode 5, which was something I never did, and I don't think I would ever do afterward actually. I don't think that I've ever made frames for 2 sprite videos at the same time. Could be wrong about that, but I'm not sure. Just the only time that I am sure is episode 6 and 5 of Sonic and Mario. Frames were being made at the same time. But again, episode 6 came really close. I got the voice acting in, I think, at the beginning of the month from my other actors. I did my acting in the middle of the month or so. The frames weren't done until the 31st of December, and the editing, I did that all at 6 in the morning, and I also ran into troubles with Movie Maker, so I had to there was a fix that I could do, a weird reboot thing for Movie Maker. I'm not sure how to explain it, but it involves the process of installing the program again. I'm not really sure, but I had to do that so that it wouldn't keep crashing on me. But eventually it worked out, and at 8 a.m. the episode was done and I uploaded it, and part 2 of my goal was achieved. I completed season 1 and got season 2 underway by the end of the year 2009, just barely hitting the goal. And I was up all night, so I immediately went to sleep pretty much until around the time that the New Year's ball started dropping. So that's how I spent my New Year's Eve in 2009, hurrying up to finish episode 6 so that I could hit my goal of seasons 1 and 2 premiered by the end of the year. Just barely got it, was happy with that, and that's how 2009 ended. On a pretty good note as far as my goals are concerned. I wanted more episodes out, but I just wasn't really able to do that, and never really was. Sonic and Mario was intended to be a weekly series. I just was never able to get that to come to fruition because, I'm just a one-man team, so that wasn't really a realistic expectation of me. But I guess it's good to have goals, and I made my goal for the end of 2009, and I think I can be happy with that in hindsight. Over the next 2 years, 2010 and 2011, I was just kind of riding the wave of being comfortable with doing sprite videos the way that I was doing. In January, speaking of which, I announced that Sonic and Mario would end after its 5th season, which I was planning to get out in the summer of 2011. Now, that's obviously not how things worked out, but that's a story for later. I couldn't really come up with anything to do after the 5th season. I had this idea in mind about interdimensional travel, that this 5th season was gonna get in a bunch of characters from other video game series like Donkey Kong, Star Fox, and others that I can't quite remember at the moment. But what I would do is outline the seasons with episode summaries before I wrote the scripts, and I got to that point where I was okay, I can't really come up with any more, and that was season 5 of Sonic and Mario. And then I was you know what, this seems like a good ending point. I think it went up to 83 episodes, but I'm not entirely sure about that. The very original run of Sonic and Mario was gonna get somewhere in the 80s in terms of the number of episodes, which astounds me now because there's just 36 at the moment, and that kind of scares me. I remember mentioning that I wanted to do plush adventure videos, the ones that I had seen with those plushies that I bought, near the end of 2007. I still didn't do a full-on series, but one that I was planning on doing was the Sonic and Mario specials, the first of which was released on February 17th, 2010. I just came up with it randomly, just with the joke at the end, and I was okay, how can I make a story about all this. And so that was like the first video that was intended to be a series once I got a proper camcorder. Because again, like at that point I didn't have one, I just had like a cell phone camera that could take video. So naturally it turned out looking like garbage, but it was a fun time filming, except for the fact that most of Sonic's clips, like the audio was cut off on them, so I had to reshoot them at like 5 in the morning before school, and the lighting was all off. Oh, that was terrible, but still a fun time making that one, and yeah, the series that never came to be, the Sonic and Mario plush specials. Other ones were scripted and partially voiced, but I was just never able to make any more. And here's something that might not be too terribly known about me. I'm actually a big sports fan. Or well, I say big, but I haven't really watched a game in quite some time. I follow sports, and I was big into it in my mid to late teens. And one of the things that I did was I made a hype music video for the Stanley Cup playoffs of 2010. Kinda happy with some of the results, but obviously not enough to keep the video up, and I don't have the footage or anything today, so there was a little taste for a bit, like a couple years, on my channel of my love for sports. I also had another video up. It was a wrestling-related video that I kept up for quite some time, but So there was a little bit of sports on my channel at some point, but that eventually just kind of stopped in favor of nerdy shit. Now, one of my milestones, I hit 100 subscribers on my birthday, actually. My 16th birthday was on May 10th that year, and I just so happened to hit 100 subscribers on that date, so that was a pretty nice birthday gift from the internet. And I knew that it was like coming up, so a bit earlier in the year I actually had Rabbit and KN record some lines, making fun of me, which KN was kind of like, dude, what the hell are you doing?
Hello, this is Nux from Sonic Song 182. I just want to start this off by saying that I am saying these lines under protest. They're so mean. I don't want to... Skull, dude, I don't want to say this stuff about you, even if you're just joking. People will totally take me serious. And then they'll be like, look at that monster. What kind of friend is that monster? And then I'll be like, but Skull made me. I didn't want to. He forced me. Anyways, now that I'm done having a mental breakdown, I will do the lines, but only because you told me to. Disclaimer. These are not my real feelings towards skull902. He is a friend of mine, and I do not want to insult him in any way, but he made me say these lines, so yeah!
Rabbit, on the other hand, was very happy to record said lines. I didn't have them, improvise anything. I wrote the lines, and that's why we have cringy ones like this.
His knuckles, though? How pathetic. I almost ruffled myself to death when I heard it.
My episodes of Sonic and Mario eclipse his in awesomeness.
But that was a fun video to do. I had, I asked a couple other friends to get in on it, but I don't think I got any kind of response from them. So it's just KN and Rabbit in that video making fun of me, but I thought that would be kind of a funny way to commemorate my achievement, so to speak, of getting 100 subscribers. Which again happened on my birthday, and I'm actually rather happy that it did. So another kind of accomplishment to me at the time was Sonic and Mario's 10th episode was released on May 14th. Considering the amount of series that I tried to start up and just never came about, Sonic vs. Mario was the only one that had any more than 5 episodes up to that point. So I was like, holy fuck, 10 episodes, that's a big deal. It's kind of funny to think about now because I've had Let's Plays that went over 10 parts. Sonic and Mario is almost 3 times more than 10 episodes at this point. So looking back on it, I do feel kind of silly for celebrating the 10th episode, but at the time I didn't really have much to speak of, and this was something I considered special. During the course of Season 2, I was having trouble coming up with episode ideas. I wanted Season 2 to be a particular length, so Rabbit actually volunteered his time to write a 3-parter, which comprised episodes 11 to 13, and I absolutely love. They still kind of stand up to this day. Season 2 of Sonic and Mario, like the first one, I consider kind of bad. But these 3 episodes, and the Chaotix episodes to a point, I think are like the best bits of Season 2, but especially Rabbids episodes. There was a bit of content I had to change. Like, there was a line that the narrator said about his wife.
Does my wife know about my double life?
I had to change that. You know, like, even though I had that stupid gag about Rouge hitting on people, I felt like his joke about, like, the narrator's wife catching him with a hooker was just way too much. But no, they were fun episodes to work on. So wacky that I felt like I had to give a randomness warning at the beginning of each one. But nevertheless, those episodes were really fun to work on, and I'm glad that Rabbid decided to do that for me. Nice guy he is. Can't say that enough. Sonic and Mario's first anniversary was in June. That saw the release of episode 12, which was one of Rabbit's episodes that he wrote. It was, at that point, the longest running series that I've done, and since it's like 9 years and still ongoing technically, it is very much my longest running series and probably will stay that way forever. I, again, was just amazed by this. A lot of firsts, in my early video making days. Just kind of happy with the way that things went, and it looked like Sonic and Mario was working out with me and the cast and the people who were watching it and whatnot. I was very happy with the role that I was apparently going on, and it was definitely a fun time to be excited, at least to me. I was excited about, making more episodes and whatnot. And I hope that anyone watching around the time felt the same way. But yeah, 1 year of Sonic and Mario, and I was pretty happy to have been able to do that. Around the same time, I completely rewrote Season 4. Because Season 4 was originally supposed to be a parody of Sonic 06, and since Sonic 06 is one of the longer Sonic games, the parody turned out to be like 29 episodes long, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, that's going to be quite a lot of episodes to make just for a single season of the show. I could have condensed it, but instead I actually put it up to the fans. I was like, do you guys want to see a 29 episode long season, or should I just make something else? Then I think the consensus was write something else, and so I wrote the Season 4 that we got today. So the 11 episodes of Season 4 that took fucking forever to come out came about from the fan vote on whether or not I should keep my Sonic 06 parody. Though I'm kind of glad that they did vote that, because if it were the former option, then we would still be in Season 4 with 18 episodes left to go. So, ooh, God, I don't want to think about it. Getting away from the Sonic and Mario conversation a bit, something interesting happened in July, where I don't even remember the circumstances, but I know I got a small duck plush for free, and I just had this idea about it, and 2 days later I made a prototype trailer for what would become UberDuck, and I sent it around in email to a couple friends to see what the reaction might be to it, and the response that I got seemed alright. I got stuff like, you could make something out of this. So I decided at some point, whenever I was going to get a camcorder, that I would make UberDuck a proper series. I'm surprised that worked out, but the prototype trailer for UberDuck was made in July 2010, and this is the first time that it's been shown to the public. So, interesting bit of skull902 history. I actually piloted UberDuck to people. In October 2010, I released episodes 15 and 16 of Sonic and Mario in a single day on October 30th. They definitely could have been combined, but I wasn't really thinking about that at the time. The interesting thing, though, about this, it's part of a three-parter. I was going to call it a duology, but I'm rambling. The interesting thing about it is that I was actually going to have Mike Pollock be a part of things in episode 15.
A confession! Let's book him!
I wrote in a police chief character who said something to Espio, But in the final episode, he was voiced by me, and that's because I actually had a talk with Mike Polk about it. I had him record the line for something else, and then I repurposed it for Sonic and Mario. And then I got the idea to contact Mike, and I was like, hey, you recorded a line for me last year that I want to put in this thing, but I'm not sure. And he was like, please don't put it in a Sonic fan show. I will probably get in trouble and fired from Sega and whatnot. So I didn't. But then he voiced in a fan project years later, and I don't really feel bad about saying this anymore because it seems like Sega's kinda cool with that-ish. I certainly hope that I'm not getting Mike in trouble by admitting that he was supposed to be in Sonic and Mario, but I doubt that Sega's watching my channel anyway. So, as kind of a Christmas gift to my fans, I released episodes 17 and 18 of Sonic and Mario on consecutive days. It was Christmas Eve and Christmas Day 2010, and this was like, it's kind of interesting to think about, like, season 2 ended on a bunch of multi-part episodes, because it was 11 through 13 that Rabbit wrote, my Chaotix trilogy from episodes 14 to 16, and then 17 to 20 were like Jason Sonic going out on his own to try and take over the world without Eggman and Bowser. But I thought that it would be a nice thing to release these episodes on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day to give them as a bit of a Christmas gift to the people watching my channel at the time, and I thought that it was a nice way to spend the holiday. Again, I have a lot of fun editing my videos, and I just wanted to have fun by having these released around Christmas as a bit of a commemoration. So, yeah. Speaking of Christmas that year, I actually did get the camcorder. I wanted a camcorder like way before I started making videos on YouTube, but I finally got a proper camcorder for Christmas in 2010, and the very first thing that I shot was like a reshoot of the Uberduck trailer. Just a singular shot, but I really did fuck it up because I shot Uberduck against the light, and you know, it just kind of looked shitty. Even in comparison to the fucking potato cell phone cam, like I got the lighting a lot better on the cell phone video than I did on the proper camcorder. Say what you will about that, but it was, you know, something that I was happy with making. And I released that video on December 27th to cap off the year. I, again, was excited to see what the future held on my channel, so I was like, Uberduck's coming 2011, and that's what we're going to be talking about next. So, 2011, much like the last year, like I said, just riding the wave, and I started that year off, again with a consecutive day release, episodes 19 and 20 of Sonic and Mario, the Season 2 finale. This one was, again, fun to do for me. I very much like editing videos, like I've rambled on about before. I actually kind of find it funny. I wrote one of the lines in as something I was doing during the recording session I was doing for the Silver's Never-Ending Story movie for Sonic Song 182. I was just having a really good night that night, and so I decided to record Sonic's pre-ass-kicking one-liner.
Take this, you poser!
And I put that in the script for episode 20 eventually. And that's actually the only point in that episode or the previous 3 where Sonic sounds any decent, because I think I was still recovering from being sick when I recorded all those episodes. So like that one line of Sonic was the only time during the end of season 2 that he like sounded proper, I guess, by my standards. But, you know, again, it was a fun time. Season 2 extended beyond the time frame that I really wanted it to, but, you know, considering Season 4, say if I told my past self about how Season 4 would be, I don't think that 16 going on 17-year-old me would have really bitched all that much about it. Immediately after Season 2 ended, I started production of Season 3, and Season 3 was written mostly by Rabbit. It was going to be like a Captain N parody, but I actually couldn't find any like proper sprites for the characters from Captain N, so we had to like completely scrap that, and I wrote a whole season on my own, 5 episodes long. I shouldn't say on my own. Rabbit and I wrote episode 21 together. We came up with the initial plot for it, and I just, came up with the middle and the conclusion. That one was really, really fast. Like, I kind of had the foresight to go ahead and write all the scripts, send out all the lines, do all my lines, and do all the frames before the first episode was even edited, which meant that Season 3 was the fastest to complete. It started on June 26th with the release of Episode 21, and finished on August 13th with the release of Episode 25. So definitely a fast season that just went by really quickly. I'm kind of amazed with my kind of ethic that I had back then, which I would soon enough abandon, because I don't know why, I just can't really fall into habits with some things. Usually things that are good for me. But yeah, Season 3 went by really quick, and I wish that I would have maintained that sort of work ethic that I had for making those videos, because it definitely would have worked out for the better for me. In the time between Seasons 3 and 4 of Sonic and Mario, I decided to start hyping up Uberduck with more trailers. The second and third trailers went up in August, which announced a release date for September. I had fun working on these, like I always say, I had fun. I was shooting in my room, and I remember one of them, the second trailer was the Bastardly Bunny. Like, that's our first introduction to him, and he's like, oh, I'm working on my evil lair, and there's only a globe there. And so, like, it kind of seems like there'll be more, right? But then in the proper episodes of the show, it's still just that globe. So you can definitely tell that teenage me had some pretty low production values. But, still a fun time. Like, the third trailer was a parody of the first one, but for the Bastardly Bunny, where they just make fun of him. I thought that was a good one.
He is.
Okay, so this isn't going to say anything bad about me, right?
The Bastardly Bunny, main enemy of Uberduck.
So in the third trailer, again, it announced a release date for September, and that's when Uberduck premiered. Uberduck was actually like the most productive series I think I've ever made. Even though it only lasted one season, I had scheduled all the episodes, so I was like, okay, series premiere September 27th, then I'm going to wait 2 weeks to release the next one, and then that's going to be on consecutive weeks until the end of October, because I'm going to release the last episode of the season on Halloween, which was 6 days after the planned release for episode 4, but, whatever. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 followed a pretty strict format, and then episode 4 was when I decided to do something different. And I'm actually rather surprised with myself, because, I was still kind of in the mode of rushing things out, but trying to be patient with them, as opposed to a few years prior. But with episode 4, usually I would film the episodes on, the Saturday beforehand, and then I would edit them on Sunday and have them released on Tuesday. Episode 4, I remember, took me the whole weekend to film, because I was doing things with, different camera angles and other stuff like that. The wrestling episode was definitely a fun one to make for me, and I'm not trying to describe everything as fun this often, but I mean, it was particularly fun to make episode 4. Episode 5 also had elements of changing camera angles, but it wasn't nearly as drastic as episode 4. So yeah, that was Uberduck. It didn't last very long, but I had a good time making it. There were a couple other plush videos that I made in the fall of 2011. The first of which was Mario's secret video. I didn't release this one to YouTube, I just sent it out to a few friends over email, because I was concerned about its content, which it wasn't nearly as bad, I don't think, as again, I'm gonna cite the running gag with Rouge and Sonic and Mario, so I don't know why I was oh man, I don't know if I can release this one. But Mario's secret video was released in secret, I guess, to a few of my friends. That one, I think I used some different camera angles for it. I'm gonna have to watch the video again, but the plot revolved around Mario having a video on his computer, whatever the fuck he's using, and Sonic wants to know what it is. Very simple plot, but I have made other videos that I've only circulated to friends, but I think this was the first time that I did that and didn't intend to make a better version, like with the Uberduck trailer. This one was just for my friends, and I don't think I'm going to release the full video because of that. There was a sequel that I made the next year that was for just one friend because I made it for her birthday, and that's definitely not seeing the light of day. Not only because I don't have the video file, but also because it was meant just for one person, and that's how it's going to remain. The other one was Who Are the Heroes, which was released in November. It was the first video that I made that was rendered in widescreen because my camcorder, it didn't quite film in 4:3 or 16:9. So the footage looked good in either aspect ratio when it was rendered out in Movie Maker. I kind of did that to test the waters, but the video content itself was like really dated because like Mario and Sonic are talking about the new heroes of video gaming, like Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix, who've kind of, lost relevancy. Duke Nukem, who definitely fell off the map in 2011 after the release of Forever. And the joke is that, like, I threw the red Angry Bird at them at the end, and even then, like 2 years after, I think that's when Angry Birds kind of started falling out of popularity, so that video was really dated. But it was just something silly I wanted to try out for fun because I wanted to make a bunch of plush videos at the time. So after doing a bit of what I did for Season 3, I released Season 4 of Sonic and Mario. I definitely didn't do the job as effectively as Season 3, because if I did, that season would have been done and over with really quick. I remember intending to split it up into like 2 parts, so like episodes 1 through 5 of the season, which would be 26 to 30, would have been released in 2011, and then the final 6 would have been in 2012. So I was kind of doing like a production schedule similar to how live action TV shows shoot their episodes. Kind of interesting in that way that I decided to make them in blocks, but that obviously didn't work out that way because, again, Season 4 took fucking forever to come out. Just under 7 years, which, oh man, oh god, I'm so sorry to you guys. But yeah, Season 4 got started on November 24th, and then after the release of episode 28 in December, Windows Movie Maker actually stopped working properly for me, and that whole reset thing that I did wasn't actually working. I think it made the problem worse. So I was like, fuck. And I got Sony Vegas Movie Studio as like an emergency Christmas gift to replace it, but it actually didn't work all that well on my old computer. I didn't use it for much before switching over to my grandma's computer a few years later. I suppose I sort of had like really good foresight for the future, but like at the then present, I wasn't really thinking all too well because, well, it's not like I knew that the program was gonna run really slow on my shitty computer, though I should have really figured that, but Sony Vegas didn't get much use until about 2015 or so, but, you know, it helped me make a few videos the next year, though Sonic and Mario would start getting, like, delayed because of voice actor communication problems and stuff like that, so I definitely didn't use Vegas at first for its intended purpose, though I would get a little bit of use out of it later on. So 2011 ended with a Sonic and Mario delay, unstable Movie Maker, Vegas didn't work very well on my computer, and my hand was broken on top of all that. So kind of a crappy end to the year, though the light in the darkness, as I put in my notes here, was that I announced Sonic and Mario the movie on December 29th. And man, that was kind of like the most ambitious project that I made at the time. I intended for it to be 40 to 70 minutes long, and Rabbit and I were going to write the script. But we didn't start doing that until the next year, so I'm going to talk about that in the next recording. 2012 is what I would consider a year of setbacks, one of two, including the next year. But in the beginning it didn't seem so bad. Like in the beginning of the year, Rabbit and I wrote the script for Sonic and Mario the movie, which was, again, I'm gonna say it, it was a fun time. It was over 300 lines long, I remember. I don't really remember much of the details, but like the cast was, part of the cast anyway, was gonna go to Mario's world, That's something that I remember. And it was definitely gonna be pretty long. I remember estimating that, like, after the script was finished, that it was gonna be like 50 or so minutes. So it definitely hit my goal. Very unfortunate that I wasn't able to make the movie, but at least Rabbit and I got the script done, and maybe if I can find it, I might release it for funsies. There were also spin-off series that I wrote leading up into the movie, because my idea was that I kind of wanted to copy the MCU because they were leading into the Avengers movie, and I wanted to make spin-off seasons after Sonic and Mario ended. So there was going to be Mario Aftermath and Sonic Aftermath. All of these spin-off seasons were going to be 4 episodes long, not counting the Chaotix ones. But I definitely had some ideas. It was going to be ambitious. So with Sony Vegas as my only option to edit videos, even though it didn't really work all that well on my old computer, I made an announcement trailer for another series I had an idea for called Spider-Man Slightly Good Advice. I don't know why, it was just, I got this Spider-Man plush at Dave & Buster's, and I just got the random idea for him to make like a advice show where like he'd take suggestions from the comments and just, you know, try to offer up some advice in a hilarious way. So I made the trailer for that in February, and then the one episode, the only episode of the series, was filmed and released in April, all edited with Vegas. Well, not all edited, but I'll get into that with the next point. I don't know if the show really had any promise, but you know, it was interesting to work on. I was improvising all the answers, I think, because like I didn't want to like dub over footage of me puppeteering Spider-Man for some godforsaken reason. So considering that I'm not all that great at improvising, as you can no doubt tell with this video, I think I did alright. I think I did alright with that, but it definitely wasn't like good enough for me to consider continuing after like a little while of thinking about it. Also in April, Movie Maker started working for me again, and I actually made the intro for Spider-Man Slightly Good Advice in that. I also took the opportunity to make an announcement video for another series that didn't come to fruition. It was going to be called Super Wars. The only thing about it that remains on the internet to this day is this shitty cropped version of a picture that I took of like the cast from the first season that was used as the profile picture for the show's YouTube channel. It's still active. I didn't close the account, and I don't remember the password either, so it's just gonna stay up there forever. But it was gonna be like an action figure show, not like fully stop animation, but with a little bit of it in there. Just a huge crossover event. You thought Infinity War was ambitious. It was going to have like Marvel characters, DC characters, Power Rangers. It was going to be crazy. But yeah, Super Wars, again, another thing. It was going to require Vegas to edit. Like, I wanted to put visual effects in there and all this other crazy shit. Definitely wouldn't have been able to do it at the time that I wanted. But, you know, some things just don't work out, and Super Wars was one of them. So with Movie Maker back and working, I released episodes 29 to 31 of Sonic and Mario quickly between late April and early May. I had all the voice acting and frames and stuff done. It's just that I was really unused to editing in Vegas, and I was just more comfortable with doing it in Movie Maker at the time because I had mastered the program before I got Vegas. And like Vegas was kind of just like, boom, you know, so much more expansive and different. I definitely had to learn Vegas. So I just figured it would be more efficient to edit the episodes in Movie Maker, and that's why, since Movie Maker wasn't working properly until April, it took me a long time to actually start editing the episodes. Episode 31 would be the first one released after I turned 18, and also the last episode for over a year. Again, because of voice actor communication, I wasn't able to get in touch with the voice actors that I had, and so I had to do a round of recasting, but I'll talk about that later. Until that point, Sonic and Mario just took a long hiatus. In the summer, I wrote the rest of the scripts for Season 4, as well as Episode 37, which was supposed to be the Series 5 premiere, and I did all the rest of the lines for Season 4, except for one, including the original version of Episode 36, which has been rewritten like 8 times before the final version came out. I'm kind of surprised and appreciative of my foresight. Again, just wasn't expecting the skull902 of that time to really think forward like that, especially because of what would happen to me in the fall. So, good on 18-year-old me for doing that. I also recorded some material for the second season of Uberduck around this time. I was expecting to move house, so I filmed some footage about, like, the Bastardly Bunny having his lab destroyed. This would never get released, and I don't have access to the footage, so unfortunately I can't show that to you guys. But, you know, I thought that it was an interesting way of tying that all together. Unfortunately, the footage never got to see the light of day because I never filmed Season 2 of Uberduck, but, you know, shit happens. So, my second voice acting hiatus. In October, I, like, raged at a game or something, and I felt my throat started feeling really fucking weird. And it had a very bad effect on me. I couldn't voice any of my characters because, unlike the first hiatus, I was feeling like pain and stress on my throat when I tried to do my voices. That was scary as fuck, and it would affect me for like a year and a half afterward. It was like definitely a blow to me because you know, in combination with not being able to reach my voice actors for Sonic and Mario, it's just like, you know, when Season 4 is done, am I going to be able to keep voicing my characters? And those were thoughts that would continue on into the next year. But I was, like, taken out of commission pretty much in October when my voice just kind of fucked up, for lack of a better term. And I just couldn't. I just couldn't. And it was a very tough time dealing with that throughout the duration of my weird throat problems. Speaking of the lack of voice actor communication, in November I decided to set up auditions for the characters that weren't being voiced by Rabbit and I on, like, voice acting forums, as opposed to like making a full-on video about it. I got a few auditions for that, and I recast all the parts that I was looking for, though voice actor communication would continue to be a problem, because only one of them ended up actually voicing some lines for the series. That's something I'll talk about more in the next segment, but I just kind of got to that point where I was like, okay, I obviously am not going to be able to reach the original actors. I've got to go find out and get some more so that I can finish the 4th season. And to end 2012, I announced on Doomsday, actually, December 21st, that I was going on my voice acting hiatus, and I don't know, it just felt really bad, because I had some owed voice work for, like, a Sonic OVA fan dub, though I wasn't really, like, owing a lot of people lines, but, like, I don't know, again, it just was painful to even talk normally at the time, and especially to do my character voices. So I left 2012 not really knowing what was in store for the future, and that's pretty much how I felt throughout all of 2013. 2013 is what I would consider another year of setbacks. Without being able to do, like, any of my voices, it was pretty miserable. But it started off, you know, fairly nicely as far as videos are concerned, because Shigemi Toge, who auditioned for the role of Amy near the end of 2012 for Sonic and Mario, decided to record a little improv when I asked him, yes, he's a guy, to also voice Tails. And so he recorded a bit of improv for that, and I liked it so much that I wanted to make it into a sprite skit. It eventually became the first sprite skit on my channel that had nothing to do with Sonic and Mario for 4 years, so that was a fun little bit. In February, I announced a Sonic and Mario Q&A. This turned out really fucking embarrassing because I barely got any questions, only 2, and I decided to, like, write out 8 more for myself to answer. Though I didn't, like, make an effort to hide that fact, thankfully, because that would make it even more embarrassing. It came out in March, and I just don't like the quality of those 2 videos, which is why they're going private as soon as this one goes up. Speaking of Sonic and Mario, episode 32 was released on June 26th as the 4th anniversary celebration. I remember rushing to make this one because I wanted to make it before me and my family moved, and we were going to move like 3 days afterward. So I was rushing to put this episode together. I think I had to ask for a retake on one of the lines, like, on the day of editing, which, you know, kind of scary, but things worked out, and I was able to commemorate the 4th anniversary with the first episode of Sonic and Mario in well over a year. So, yeah, good stuff. In the spring and summer of the year, Rabbit and I started talking, and I brought the idea up to him to bring back Super Chaos Comms. Without being able to do my voices, I got much more interested in wanting to do video game commentary again. And I had, like, an idea, because there was a video rental shop around me that would, like, convert VHS footage to DVD. So what I wanted to do was record a couple playthroughs on VHS tapes, like completely brand new VHS tapes, have them converted to DVD, and then convert the DVD footage to my computer, which would have been a process and a half. But considering I have never really had a lot of money, was just what would have been necessary at the time. Rabbit also wanted to revive Super Chaos Comms, so he was all in on it, and we announced that Super Chaos Comms was going to come back on July 22nd. The first playthrough that we did was Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, which started on August 22nd, and we actually did that with Hype voice acting, who is better known now for doing some wonderful fan dubs of Sonic comics. That was a fun time, even though I screwed up one of the jokes that I wanted to make, and unfortunately we were never able to continue it, but it stays up publicly on the channel as a bit of a commemoration for the time that we actually got a fucking video game commentary done, even if it was just for one part. Up to that point, we had started doing gameplay, and that's what we failed to do the first time, so yeah. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, though, because I had been having this throat problem for so many months, like nearly a year, and eventually I went to see a specialist. The specialist, for whatever reason, couldn't find anything wrong. It was like, I felt wrong, but the specialist said, yeah, there's little, if anything, I can do about this. So that kind of devastated me, and he put me on some medication, and when I was on my way home that day, I kind of made a decision to myself. I was like, if I don't improve from this medication by the time I'm done taking it, I'm going to make a bit of a decision. And well, the medicine didn't really improve my condition all too much, so on October 14th, 2013, well, I made this announcement. Due to the circumstances at hand, I am unfortunately announcing to you today that Sonic and Mario has been cancelled. Now, I fully intended on completing the series, so I rewrote the ending of Season 4 to serve as a finale. I made a promise to the fans that I wasn't just going to leave them hanging with the cliffhanger that Episode 32 presented, and that I would voice any lines that I had left. I forgot to record one of the lines for one of the episodes. I'm not quite sure what it was when I was doing all the voiceovers the previous year, so I actually had to voice this line.
Whoa, what is that?
With my throat troubles, and that was pretty painful, but I was like, nah, I owe it to the fans, damn it, and I completely rewrote Episode 36's script. I didn't go through voicing it because of how much trouble that one Luigi line gave me, but I was determined to get the season done and just have a somewhat proper finale for Sonic and Mario, because again, I didn't want to leave everyone on a cliffhanger like that. Nah, that's not me, man. I want to bring a conclusion. After the announcement that I was canceling Sonic and Mario, I did decide to also in the same video I said that I was going to make a new fan series, which again didn't come to be. It was going to be, I think it was going to be called the Sonic Comedy Show, but I'm not entirely sure. It was going to be a plush show, and I wanted to get the second generation Sanei Sonic plushes for it, but again, I have very little money and I wasn't able to. Plus, Rabbit and I had episodes written out, but I don't know, we just couldn't get anything done. But we had a plan, and that plan was the Sonic Comedy Show. Didn't come to be, but I had a fun time writing it. In October, Rabbit introduced me to Josh, or That Hat Guy. Josh is a big fan of TF2. He's a funny guy. He used to do his own videos, but I think he's content now with just hanging out with me or whoever else on stream whenever we can get him on. But no, he's a cool guy, and I can't thank him enough for his friendship. So my first playthroughs for Super Chaos Comms, which were Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Genesis and Sonic the Hedgehog 1, were recorded in October and November. No, they were not VHS playthroughs. By that point, I had started trying out emulators, and I noticed that Kega Fusion could do its own recordings, and they came out to like really crisp, nice quality. So I was like, oh man, I want to get in on that. Unfortunately though, the codecs for these video files are really weird, so I had a lot of trouble getting them to work on my old computer, and thus these playthroughs wouldn't see the light of day actually until nearly a year later. Sonic 1 in particular was a hassle to record because I'm like a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to the special stages in Sonic games, and I want to get them all first try. I remember, and that was the third time I ever beat the game also, so it was definitely a challenge for me to go ahead and collect all those emeralds in such a way that I got them as early as possible. Not a fun time, lots of rage quits because I wanted to get this perfect, but you know, it felt really satisfying once I was finally able to do it. At the end of the year, I had to set up some more Sonic and Mario auditions because of lack of voice actor communication, once again. I did eventually get some actors who were in episodes 33 to 35, so that was good. And my favorite thing about this round of auditions that I set up was I can't find any file of it in my email or anything because he auditioned to me through a YouTube video, but someone actually sent in a joke audition. And I remember one of the roles that they were going for was Tails, and they made Tails sound like Venom from the 90s Spider-Man show. It was fucking amazing. Definitely a great way to end the year, even if me and my throat felt like shit. 2014, I would say, is a year where I was getting back on track. I was doing a lot of planning and setting up, and things were looking up for me. At the start of the year, I joined Blue Star Nova Commentaries by recording their Sonic 1 playthrough. I did the commentary with Josh, and that was a good time. I remember really liking doing that playthrough because unlike the Super Chaos Comms run, I was getting more used to playing Sonic 1, and it didn't take me a whole lot of tries to get the Chaos Emeralds as early as possible. Plus, you know, I had a fun time doing the commentary. It was the first game I finished doing commentary for, and I think that gave me some nice experience going forward. Near the end of March, my throat actually recovered from the voice acting troubles that I was going through for over a year. I do make an effort to practice, even if my throat is, hurting me every once in a while anyway, just to be sure that whenever it is okay that I can do voices. It hadn't been hurting me for like a couple days beforehand, so I just gave it a shot and hey, I was able to do it again. So I quickly scripted a Sonic and Mario April Fool's special thing to disguise it as episode 33, and I uploaded it on April Fool's Day, which came out on April 1st, disguised as episode 33, like I said. And at the end, I announced my return to voice acting, so I was excited about that, and I did my lines for episode 36. I was really happy to get out of that funk that I was in, and just start voice acting again. It was a good time. I started celebrating the 5th anniversary of Sonic and Mario on May 3rd when I released the real episode 33, and then I also got together all the bloopers from seasons 1, 2, and 3 and released those as 2 separate blooper reel videos. That's something that really disappoints me, actually, was that I didn't start collecting bloopers for the show until episode 4, so the season 1 and 2 videos had to be combined. Even then, there's a few good ones in there.
I told you not to guzzle it down and on the blood. Attack, my brethren! Together we shall be instrumental in starting the season. Damn it! Because I intentionally switched the channel on my friends until
I attended better parties when I was a baby. I really do sound like Chris Thorndike now. What happened to my Tails voice? Okay, the coughing might have something to do with it.
I attended better parties when I was in middle school.
That's Rouge's line again! Okay, I'm gonna scroll down slightly so I can't even see Rouge's line anymore.
Sounds like they're gonna get the next emerald. The emerald. Sounds like they're gonna get the second Chaos Emerald. Sorry, I'm trying. My voice.
Buy my soap today. I'd sell thousands of bars of soap.
But all he did was jaywalk and steal some guy's hot dog. Somebody's Skyping me.
We don't have anything new?
Say hi to Nux. Hi, Skull!
Ah! What the heck was that?
Oh my god.
I just saw death! I looked it in the face!
Did my mic just take a shit? Oh, it's working again.
Maybe because we haven't been here since. Oh, wow. I sound like a jerk. Do not question the logic of Tails, or he shall smite you!
Yeah, Luigi and I were just freezing up in that icy place, and then all of a sudden we saw these 6 shards fly from the sky. We placed them together like a puzzle, and they looked just like the emeralds, so we took them here so Tails could confirm. That take sucked.
And put some ice in my head? We're gonna put some ice in my head!
Yes, it feels as if we're only here for random filler! I just said that with a weird melody. Oh, I'm sorry, Skull. I don't know how to do it again. I forgot how to do it. Does this suck? Does it suck? Ah! The director thought it was neshibile.
Find out on Sonic and Mario! Sorry, was that too much?
And I had fun editing those videos. I also released episodes 34 and 35 in June. No rushing this time, I had everything all ready in time for the anniversary. Episode 36 saw a delay, the first of many, because I wanted it to be released on the anniversary, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get things together in time, so I suppose in a way I was kind of rushing, but I think I saw it coming in about May that I wouldn't be able to get the episode out on time, so I just delayed it for a few months. But that would definitely not be the last time it would get delayed. I'm so sorry you guys had to wait 4 years for it, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For the 5th anniversary, I was also planning on doing a panel video with Rabid and KN, but I had to scrap that unfortunately because I couldn't reach KN. There was no getting a hold of her in 2014. It's something that I would like to do in the future, but we'll see. In July, Rabid recorded the playthrough for Super Mario Land for Super Chaos Comms, and then Josh and I did the commentary over it. It is my favorite commentary of any kind that I've ever done. Josh and I had a really nice time talking over the game and relating memories of playing it to each other. I don't know exactly what it is about that playthrough that I like so much, but I just do. It was a really good time talking to him that day, and he only had like the half an hour that the playthrough lasted to record the commentary, so we were kind of rushing it too. I'm kind of surprised that it came out the way that it did, considering, because it you know, most of the time I'll say that my videos are bad, or that videos that I'm in, you know, are subpar or whatever. Just another quick aside about that whole subpar comment. I wasn't trying to disparage anyone's work. I was actually criticizing my own performances. It's just, I'm stupid and can't articulate my thoughts very well, so yeah. Back to the video. But I actually really like the way that Super Mario Land came out on Super Chaos Comms. If you haven't seen it, then I would definitely recommend that you give it a watch. Because I think that it was a fun time, and maybe you guys might like it too. In the summer, my old computer died a temporary death, and I was forced to either use my grandma's computer or my Xbox 360 to access the internet. That wasn't a good time, but it only lasted like a month and a half, so, you know, it wasn't as bad as it would eventually be. But during my time on my grandma's computer, I actually came up with the idea for 3 more seasons of Sonic and Mario that I wasn't sure about implementing, but, you know, they were made as a possibility. They were all eventually merged into one season, but again, just another idea that I discarded and whatnot. The 6th season would have had the cast going through Mario's world, I remember. And then the 7th season, which was going to be the final one, was going to involve the cast going through, like, the Super Smash Bros. World. Like, they were going to do things that were in Smash games, like board the platforms and break the targets, and then eventually fight Master and Crazy Hand. So, I think that was a neato idea, but again, I just didn't go through with it. Spending that time on my grandma's computer once again made me put 2 and 2 together, and I realized I could just use her computer to edit those playthroughs that I had recorded the year before. So I got all the footage on there, and man, that took a while. I had to use a site called WeTransfer because the video files were just so big in size. And I remember, like, editing videos up to like 2 or 3 a.m. and then having to go back home. That was a good time, but I like really discovered my love for editing videos when I was doing the Sonic 1 playthrough specifically. Even though I was having a bit of trouble with the footage because, again, weird codec, I was learning Vegas more, and I was having a good time putting that all together, doing the commentary with Rabid. Both playthroughs were eventually finished by November, and there are another couple playthroughs that I like the way that they turned out. At the end of the year, Rabid decided to record Sonic 1 8-bit for the channel, and I took it upon myself to edit the footage for him, also doing that on my grandma's computer. And that's how I ended 2014, by uploading the raw gameplay-only footage onto Super Chaos Comms. We intended to do the commentary sooner, but we wouldn't get to that until the next year. Commentary was still a new thing to me, so in 2015 I would say that I was doing new things, trying to continue what I was doing in the previous year. Started off very early in 2015 by joining the Sonic Stadium message boards, and I met another one of my great friends, Kaya, on the board after I accidentally double posted and asked Ahmad to remove the double post. She was the one who did it, and I contacted her via private message, thanking her, and eventually we became really good friends. This doesn't really have to do much with my YouTube, but I felt like I couldn't do this video without giving her a shout out. So, thank you, Kaya, for all the love and support you've given me over the time that we've known each other, and I hope you're doing well. I did an update on March 25th, and that ended up being the last video I ever made on my old computer because it would die once again in May. And that was something. It's kind of like the end of an era again. You know, it served me well for 8 years prior, but unfortunately the computer was just having so much problems that it just eventually wouldn't turn on, and I had to exclusively make videos on my grandma's computer for the next 2.5 years. So, old computer, 2007 to 2015, I salute you. As a birthday gift in May, I got a new headset, which was the Logitech H570E. I wanted it for use on Skype and for videos that I would be making on my grandma's phone. It's a good microphone. It's better quality than a lot of Logitech's other headsets that they sell, which is surprising because this is supposed to be one of the cheaper ones. I still use it today, and it's a really good microphone. If you're in need of a cheap USB headset, then definitely look into it. I'm not sponsored, by the way. So Rabbit and I finally recorded the commentary for Sonic 1 8-bit on Super Chaos Comms in May, and I uploaded the parts throughout that month. To date, it is the last full playthrough that is up and available on Super Chaos Comms channel. We definitely intended to do more with it, but for a couple of years there, we just weren't able to get anything done and had no plan for the channel. So it went dormant again after that, which is really unfortunate because I was pretty passionate about it for a while. Still would like to get some commentaries done, but we'll just have to see where things go in the future. But I wasn't quite done with video game commentary yet, because I started Let's Playing at the end of June with Sonic 1. I don't know what it was about me, but like I was really nervous doing commentary by myself, and you can tell in the beginning of the playthrough I was really nervous, though I think eventually I did like kind of get into the groove of things and start being more comfortable, because you can tell by the end of it I'm actually fairly lively during. You can see the difference here. Yeah, so we're in the first zone in Sonic history, Green Hill Zone, in the first Sonic game. Wow. insightful commentary already. If you play like I'm doing right now, this is actually a pretty decent shortcut around here, though. I haven't been able to make like full use of it. It takes some pretty good platforming to do. For the first couple of Let's Plays, I was also doing the commentary completely live, which was something I would abandon soon after. I don't know, I just don't like talking by myself when I'm playing a video game. I don't think that I really have a good flow or anything like that, so I decided eventually to do all my Let's Plays post-commentary. Let's playing is something that I enjoy, and that I hope you guys enjoy watching my Let's Plays, and Sonic 1 in June of 2015 was the first one that I ever did by myself. On July 1st, I became a YouTube partner with the Fullscreen Network. I had gotten, like, an offer from a scout for N4G the year before, but I was really fucking dumb and didn't exactly know how to go through the process of signing up my channel, but eventually I learned that shit and went to Fullscreen. Finally being a YouTube partner, man, that felt like an accomplishment. Like, I was like, this is neato. It's really not all that different from being a normal YouTuber, to be honest. You know, it's not like like when I was a kid, I had like this preconceived notion that like YouTube partners were just evil and money grubbing, but it's just like, nah, it's just about as chill as it was before. I'm still doing the videos for fun. It's just that I was getting a little tiny bit of money for the videos that I was making. But without you guys, I wouldn't have been able to do it in the first place, so I gotta thank you guys for bringing my channel up to that point that I was able to become a partner. In the summer and fall, I did some other Let's Plays. There was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in July, I believe. That was a fun time, especially because some crazy shit happened. I think that Season 3, I just did one of the combos, and I have no idea how I did the combo. Oh my god. Wait, I did again. I'm so sorry, folks, that I got distracted like that, but, that's the first time. That's the first time I ever did one of those combos, and I have absolutely no idea. I did it again to kill him. How am I doing this? I have no idea how I did those. All 3 times. I had no idea how I did those combos. Good God. Now I don't even know what I was talking about. In the fall, I also decided to do Let's Plays of Sonic ROM hacks where I was like challenging myself to not get a game over or anything like that. Those videos didn't turn out too great because, again, I'm not all that great at live commentary, but ROM hacks are something that I would definitely like to do more of because of people like Mega G Wolf made me interested in that kind of thing. So hacks are definitely something I would like to do more of, and I'm rather sad actually that I haven't been able to do more. In November I did the Sonic 2 Let's Play, and man, that was an experience. You know, it went just about as normal as my other Let's Plays during the time, even though I had to keep referring back to Sonic Retro in between all the parts that I was doing, because I kept running out of things to say, and so I was like, let me find some fact on Sonic Retro or whatever. I'm not really all that proud of this commentary, or the Sonic 1 commentary, and I'll get to that a couple segments from now. But there were definitely some moments that could have been better, like me like raging a little bit in Wing Fortress Zone. That was close! Oh man, that was also close. Oh man, oh god! That's kind of embarrassing. So eventually I did decide to redo these Let's Plays, but you know, it was an alright experience. At least it gave us Fart 5. Hey everyone, skull902 back here for Fart 5? Jesus, I'm not going to live that down. Tutorials were something I also wanted to get into, and the first one of those that I ever did was how to record footage from emulators, and that was also released in November of 2015. I couldn't get any screen recording software to work on my grandma's computer, so I had to take a bunch of screenshots and like put red and blue squares on the relevant parts of the picture in MS Paint and stuff. that was a simple, neat little video to do. It's kind of funny, actually, because with the exception of Kega Fusion, I actually don't use those methods to record my footage for like Game Boy and Super Nintendo anymore. I'll use OBS, but OBS isn't something that I would get until a couple years later, so but I suppose if you want to record footage from the emulators themselves, then there's that video. I announced a new sprite series in December called Ice Cap Zone, which still hasn't come about, but unlike the other series, I still do fully intend to make it. I have all the assets, I don't know, I want it to come out like during the winter months, and it's just like during that time of the year, I've always been focused on something else, so unfortunately I just, haven't been able to do it, but I will eventually do Ice Cap Zone, damn it. I promise to you that Ice Cap Zone will be a thing, and we'll all look at it and be like, wow, I still suck at making sprite videos, but at least I did it. The last video of 2015 was an update that I uploaded on Christmas Eve that Rabbit actually recorded for me. I don't remember the circumstances, but I asked him if he could do it and gave him free rein on what to say. That turned out really well.
Hey there, so my bud skull902 asked me to do like some fucking update video or whatever. Don't know why he can't do it himself, but he'll if he lets me say whatever I want, I guess that's not too bad. So okay, here you go.
Little did I know that this would start a year-long period where my only videos were updates. There were some technical problems that were going on that I'll get into in the next segment, but this would be the start of a disappointing period in my time on YouTube. 2016 is what I would call a year of stagnation. I recorded the Let's Play for Sonic 1 8-bit in January. I had beaten the game the previous month and I was like, hey, I can Let's Play this now. So I recorded it, but that's around the time that my grandma's computer started experiencing some trouble with crashing. So that playthrough eventually wouldn't get uploaded until like nearly 2 years later, but that's kind of interesting that I had the footage waiting around for so long. At some point during the year, I think it was in the summer, I started writing Sonic and Mario Extra. I wanted some additional material before episode 36 came out, so I was like, why don't I do like sort of episodic skit series where I kind of like make fun of the show, and that's what Sonic and Mario Extra is supposed to be. It still hasn't come out. I don't know when it's going to come out, but I do have a lot of the material that I need to make the first episode, but this is when I started writing it. In October, I also started writing Sonic 3 and Knuckles a Machinima parody. I had been planning on doing a Let's Play of Sonic 3 and Knuckles just about as soon as I ended my LP for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but I think I had watched Cybershell's Let's Play of Sonic 2 like just before writing the Machinima parody, and I was like, you know what, I like these skits that Cybershell's doing at the end of the parts of Sonic 2, so I went ahead and did my own kind of variant on that I would put at the end of every part of Sonic's run in 3 and Knuckles. I'll talk more about it in the 2018 segment, but this is when I started writing Sonic 3 and Knuckles a Machinima parody. Also in October, the Sonic Song 182 channel returned, and I quickly got back into contact with KN, telling her that yes, I would like to return to the channel and voice my characters. This also served as my return to voice acting, because even though I had made that big deal, like ever since episode 35 of Sonic and Mario, I hadn't done anything as far as voice acting is concerned, and I finally returned in the Thanksgiving special for Sonic Chefs. That was a good time recording all my lines as big, and he's like struggling with the caramels and all that. It was a wonderful recording process, but I have had quite a good time with Sonic Song 182 since the return. I'll talk about that more later, but it felt really good to get back into contact with KN and start voicing in her videos again. And it definitely felt good to actually like do sessions with her, like where she's directing me in person. That was a new experience for me, and a really fun one as well. Earlier in the year, I had joined Rage Play Comms, but the first playthrough that I did with them didn't come until like the very tail end of the year, with part 1 of, once again, Sonic 1. A lot of firsts as far as commentary is concerned with Sonic 1 for me. Rageplay Comms is, it's a wild group of guys, but I had liked a lot of the videos that they had done before, and I contacted them at the beginning of the year, like I said. I don't think I got a response until about the summer, but I had like a good conversation with the guys, as like a bit of an initiation, I suppose, and they got me in for the Sonic 1 playthrough where I was like the only person who was defending Sonic 1 as a good game. That felt kind of awkward, but I'm very appreciative of the opportunity that RPC gave me for recording game commentary when I wasn't really able to do so otherwise. And I've got to appreciate them for what I personally consider to be my greatest moment in game commentary ever.
I thought you guys were at least a semi-professional commentary group.
Yeah, we're not.
I mean, that's
we're
not true, but...
You serious?
Thanks for having...
Thank you for what, standing there?
Then finally in December, the era of updates came to an end. My brother offered to edit a couple videos for me that I had scripted, and I was like, hey, thanks man. So on Christmas Day, I released a video called Thank You Super Nintendo, which was like a commemoration of what had happened 15 years earlier. I got the Super Nintendo as a Christmas gift, and that's the day that I consider myself to have become a gamer. So I made that video in commemoration of that 15 years of gaming. And then on December 31st, I released my first Sprite video since the 35th episode of Sonic and Mario, which was 50 Shades of Blue, which I intended to make as a commemoration for Sonic's 25th anniversary, and I was pretty late on that. I definitely wanted it to be out by the end of 2016, so I remember my brother and I were rushing to get the video out so that it would make sense to release as a 25th anniversary Sonic thing. Shots fired, Sega. But that was a fun video to record. I did all the frames in like 2 days. It wasn't all that hard of a process because, you know, I was just changing colors pretty much. But that was one that we were in a rush, but it was like it was a good invigorating rush, I would say, to end the year. It felt good to have a video of substance on my channel again after so long. I would describe 2017 as a year of revitalization for my channel because I started doing stuff more regularly. That started in March because I was actually hanging out at my grandma's house due to a very widespread power outage that was going on that affected my own place. And I had heard that like the problems that my grandma's computer was having like weren't a thing anymore. So as a test, I remember I re-rendered part 6 of my Sonic 2 LP and it worked. So I was like, oh shit, I can make videos on my grandma's computer again. So that was a good way to start the year because it meant that I could make videos again, and I would do that soon enough. The first video after realizing I could make them on my grandma's computer again was actually one that I had wanted to do for years. It was about a character on the Sonic Song 182 channel, the first character actually that I voiced, the Frog Prince, who for whatever reason I just absolutely love this character, and I wanted to do a video about his origin story because you know, he's just kind of some background character in the proper channel. So I decided to try and give him a little more, so I came up with headcanon for him, and that video came out on May 8th. KN retweeted it on Twitter, and it got a fairly positive response. That was a pretty fun video to make. KN actually took a few original pictures just for this video. I only asked her for one, and then she came back with like 4 of them, and they were all really good. And I was like, man, KN, you're a sweetheart. But yeah, headcanon about the Frog Prince. That was the first video that I made after I realized that I could come back, and it was a good video, I think, to come back on. Another first for the channel came on May 13th with my first review. It was a review of the 2017 Power Rangers film, which I had seen a month earlier, and I had tried to get the review out faster, but there were some things holding it back. I was inspired more by like Classic Game Room to do this review instead of like the more comedic reviews that float around on the internet. I wanted it to be a little more journalistic and objective than that, but I still threw in some jokes in there like this one. I wasn't really a fan of the more mature jokes that they put in there and thought that a couple of things were forced, like, hey, did you know this is a PG-13 movie? For example, there's a focus shot of a bull's penis, and in one of Rita's scenes, her outfit shows a lot of boob. So I guess for any bull penis enthusiasts or boob lovers out there, this movie has something for you. But again, I had fun making it, and I thought that it would be an interesting thing to start doing reviews and other such things. This was the first installment of the My Thoughts series. I've only made a few videos in this series, but they've allowed me to go into some stuff that I think is interesting, and I hope that you guys find them interesting as well. After having written a few episodes quite a few months prior, I formally announced Sonic and Mario Extra on May 27th. I originally wanted it to come out in June of that year, but quickly realized that that wasn't going to be happening. I still intend to make it, but Sonic and Mario Extra was announced on May 27th, 2017. Again, it more so serves to poke fun at stuff from the main series, and yeah, so hopefully that comes out pretty soon. Legit don't know when, but don't worry, it's coming. In June, I met my next big YouTube buddy, Lyrical Miracle 9608, who voices Amy Rose, Blaze, Cream, Rouge, and Princess Peach for me. Really talented actor, very nice singer, got a very upbeat personality, definitely a good talent to have, and I'm very glad to have met him. For Sonic's 26th anniversary, I released my top 10 Sonic characters video, which, again, I'm going to say it was a fun video to make. I don't know if anyone was really wondering who I liked as my favorites, but I thought that I was going to catch a little bit of criticism for some of my choices, like Eggman at number 9, or Amy Rose at number 2. I'm sorry, that's just the way that things go. I hope you guys aren't mad over that. But just a nice little commemoration for the series anniversary, and again, had fun making it. I need to stop saying that. One change that happened over the summer was that my full screen contract expired on June 30th, and I joined a new MCN called Freedom on July 4th, which I thought at the time was very appropriate. This would go on to kinda haunt me later, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. At some point in July, I started writing Amiya's Best Anime at the behest of a few members of the Team 182 Discord server. A few months prior, there was a new meme in the Sonic Song 182 fandom that was created.
So I'm gonna say that Amy is my favorite anime too.
Yes, you were very helpful, Mr. Big.
That's not how anime works, Big.
Amy is best anime.
It would take me a while to get this video out, but that's when I started writing it, was in the summer of 2017. And I once again have you guys to thank for it, so yeah. I'll get more into Amiya's Best Anime later, but this is around the time I started writing it. In July, I quickly wrote and released YouTube Friendly Skit. This was made in response to a policy change that YouTube made which fucked over a lot of channels. Some justifiably, but a lot of them were really unjust. Like, I remember all wrestling content for a while was like banned from the partner program for whatever fucking reason. It was really stupid. In this video, I wanted to sort of demonstrate that. So, YouTube Friendly Skit was released in July as a response to some goings-on at YouTube. Here's something that was quickly forgotten. In August, I announced that full Let's Plays were going to be going on Super Chaos Comms and that I was only going to do highlights on my channel. That obviously didn't stand. I don't quite know why I decided to try and do that. I haven't even made a single highlight video for anything that I've done, so, you know, it's kind of a good thing that I didn't remember this plan that I had. But I also announced that I was going to do Nintendo LPs, but I wasn't going to do them on my channel. I was going to do them on Super Chaos Comms, which I still fully intend to do. I really saw no reason to not do Nintendo games, but because of various things, I'm going to be doing it on Super Chaos Comms instead. So, yeah. Sorry I haven't gotten any Nintendo LPs done yet. On August 12th, I announced that I had rewritten episode 36 of Sonic and Mario again, and this time it was to start a storyline that would go through a very short Season 5. I had been frustrated with being unable to do episode 36 because I needed some files from my old computer, and I was like, what can I do to make it so that that's not necessary? And so I just came up with this idea really quick, and I intended on getting it done by the end of the year. That didn't happen, and it didn't happen for another little while, but I was free of the restriction of needing my old computer to do it, and I'm quite glad that I did rewrite it this way. So remember me mentioning that I went to a new YouTube network? Well, in September, there was a weird, stupid thing that went on that, it was like they dropped me and accepted me back into the network like 3 days in a row and never clearly explained why. So after the third time, I was just like, you know what, screw this. And so I decided to partner strictly with Google, and that would remain for the rest of the time that my channel was monetized. If I had any advice, it would be to be careful when selecting what network you might want to go with, but it is probably a better idea to just stick with Google if you're going to be partnering your account. Another retrospective of mine, Remembering Star Fox Adventures, was released to celebrate the game's 15th anniversary. I absolutely love the fucking shit out of this game. It is a beautiful game, and oh man, I love it to death. I won't bore you guys with another long rant about it. If you're interested in hearing, please go watch the video. But I just had a great time remembering all the stuff that my family and I recalled from my brother's original playthrough of the game. It was great. It was fun. Again, I know I said I should stop saying that, but it really was. I'm sorry. The next sprite skit that was released was Shadow's Confusion. That came out on October 18th. This one was written in the summer, so it took me a few months to get out, but I definitely had a grand time doing it. Black Doom's voice, though, fucking killed my throat. Something that I like doing is writing in bits of scripts where I have Rabbit improvise something, and I absolutely knew that the guy who gets shot by Shadow needed to be voiced by Rabbit, so I just had, like, Scream here or something. And, man, Rabbit does, like, the greatest screams of all time, and this one didn't disappoint.
Kill that guy.
Fine.
Oh god, I'm dying! Oh, Jesus Christ!
I'm done.
Shadow's Confusion was a fun, neat little parody of the Shadow the Hedgehog game, and who knows, maybe more might be coming. In October, my family and I were preparing to move again, this time to an apartment, and my little brother stepped aside with me and said that I could have a desktop computer that he bought but hadn't used, and I was like blown away by that. It was a very generous offer that he made to me, and of course I accepted it because, you know, I like making videos, and it would definitely help me to not have to go to my grandma's house to make videos. So I pretty much owe this whole ramped up production thing to my little brother, and I can't thank him enough for being generous enough to give me this desktop computer. It's a really nice computer. It does have a few quirks here and there that I don't really like, but hey, I mean, I'm not gonna bitch and moan about him just giving this to me for free when he didn't have to. So it was set up and ready to be used on the 28th, and I made my last video on my grandma's computer on the 24th to announce this whole thing, and it definitely worked out for me. December was an incredibly productive month. It was definitely a benefit to get that computer when I did. I released 17 videos over the course of 29 days, which started on the 2nd with Robotnik's Revenge Time Attack, and that's where I sort of said that I was going to be changing the format for my ROM hack LPs. Still haven't gotten to any new ones after the Christmas one, but, you know, that's still in the works. I just need to figure out what I'm going to be doing next. The next video after that was the Angel Island Monkey Dude Pacifist Run skit. Rabbit and I just kind of came up with that one on the fly, and it was sort of like the first exposure of our Monkey Dude in-joke. Years ago, I watched Cybershell's Sonic 3 LP, and he made a bit about like, hey, this badnik's actually called Monkey Dude, and I don't know why, I just loved it so much, and I told Rabbits like, man, this guy's named Monkey Dude, and we just thought that it was absolutely perfect. So it sort of came up in the public eye for the first time with this Monkey Dude Pacifist run where I failed at the very last Monkey Dude in the stage, and it was a silly video that I had a grand old time making. Another response to recent happenings was how net neutrality ended. Much like many people, I disagreed with this piece of legislation, and it was another video that I threw together really quickly. And then the next sprite skit was on December 23rd. That was When Dubs Get Preachy, where half of the video was voiced in Japanese. In that video, like, I knew that I wasn't going to get accurate translations out of Google Translate, so I put in, like, silly nonsense sentences. Like, the only one that I can remember off the top of my head was, Sonic, you have the fence of a great cheese. Stuff like that. I know I had a good time voicing my characters in Japanese, but, Ames and Rabid, they kind of struggled.
Vocal photo, Sochi, Hato, Sonic no artist, oh, Akush. No! God, why? Why would you do this to me, Skull?
I fucking hate you for doing this, by the way.
This video was made as another parody. Like, Funimation had changed a couple scripts for a couple of their shows, and it was really old news by the time that I made this video, but I wasn't really all for that they changed scripts to just put in, like, a political message, when that just wasn't there in the original Japanese versions. The only changes that I feel should be in anime scripts are, like, ones that retain the original story and intentions of the creators. So I thought that was kind of a disrespectful move on Funimation's part, to be perfectly honest, and I wanted to illustrate that in this video. So finally, after nearly 2 years, I released the Sonic 1 8-bit Let's Play. This was a quick one that I got out over a few days. Took a bit of a Christmas break, but I'll talk about that in a little moment. In my return to commentary, I took it pretty chill. I remember after the Christmas break, I had a good time describing how my Christmas was and everything like that. So it's a fairly chill Let's Play. I actually kind of find it funny how I named Part 2 Ack, because I hadn't met Symph yet, but that's something I'll get into when I talk about meeting Symph in the next segment. Again, Sonic 1 8-bit LP was pretty chill, and I quite liked doing it. So for Christmas that year, I released 2 videos. The first was a simple reading of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. That was an idea that I had a few years prior, but just didn't do. I changed, like, one line, I think, but, you know, it still, like, kept the original intention and whatnot, unlike you, Funimation. And the second one was another Sonic hack video about the hack, how Eggman stole Christmas. I forget what it's called, but I wanted to do another hack originally for it, but apparently that was like a limited release, and so I couldn't find any version of it online. But how Eggman stole Christmas was still a fun video to do. I had a good time describing, like, Sonic-related Christmas things, and I really like celebrating the holiday season, and I was glad to do that on YouTube for you guys. On December 30th, I released Let's Look at Sonic Live, which was a review of one of the stories in the Sonic Live Archie special. I wrote it right after Archie canceled the Sonic the Hedgehog comic, which I still personally believe that Ken Penders was the major contributing factor towards, because the fallout from that whole situation just crippled the potential of writing stories for the comic, and I've got to imagine, like I said in the video, that Archie and Sega were just done with all the headaches that it brought them. I had to record this over many days, actually, all the voiceover, because I was doing every single, like, point individually, and that was a bit of a process. But aside from that, it was a pretty nice video to edit. I think my favorite thing about it is the copyright Ken Penders running gag. That one caught a little bit of traction with the people who watch my videos, and I'm glad that they liked it. And then on the very last day of the year, December 31st, New Year's Eve 2017, I released another sprite skit called Sonic and Amy's Crazy Date. This one I used to sort of parody my old videos, like the text over picture slideshows and the Speakonia sprite videos. Another one that I had written over the summer, and one that I was actually kind of surprised that I was able to get out at the end of the year, because it was really looking like I wouldn't be able to do it until like a few days before it came out. So I was very happy to have something for the last day of the year. Once again, second year in a row. Might do it intentionally for this year, who knows. But Sonic and Amy's Crazy Date was another nice, silly little video that I'm personally pretty happy with. Now I know it was kind of going out of order, but the last thing that I would like to talk about for 2017 was actually my debut on the Sonic Song 182 Fun Fridays series, the December 15th edition to be exact. I had been wanting to get on the live stream like ever since KN started doing them, and we weren't able to for quite some time due to technical issues. But once I got my own computer, things looked pretty set, and it was a really fun time doing all that, and I was surprised by the response that I got. Like, a lot of people subscribed to me on that day. I think I gained 25 subscribers or so, and fans started watching my videos, and I was, like, again, just really flattered by the generosity shown by you guys. Definitely the highlight for me, though, of that stream was when KN and I did Team Rocket's speech as Jesse and James.
Jesse!
James.
Team Rocket blasts off at the speed of light.
Surrender now or prepare to fight.
Meow, that's right.
It was definitely a grand time talking to you guys on stream with KN, and that would open the door not only for future appearances on the Sonic Song 182 stream, but streams of my own, which I would start in the next year. 2018 is what I would consider the best year yet on my channel, and that's without hyperbole or trying to hype myself up or anything. I legitimately believe this to be my best personal year on YouTube. After a busy December, I started things off with my Car Ranger LP on January 9th. That one was a good one to do. I had a fun time playing the game. It was only like my 4th time beating it, I think, but it's a fun little game. I definitely recommend anyone who might be interested in beat-em-up platformers to try it out. It served as a few firsts as well. It was the first game that I played that wasn't released on any Sega console. It was my first and maybe only Japanese exclusive game, and it was also the first game that I had recorded with OBS. My settings on OBS weren't quite finalized yet, but as like a test playthrough of sorts, I think this one came out pretty well. In January, I met another close personal friend of mine, the Arbiter of Ak, Simbifalu, Simpington, Symphonic Labyrinth. So, Symph is a really sweet, fun, cool lady. We actually became friends over a conversation about the weather, believe it or not. I found out that she lives in Ohio because we were both having very similar weather around the time, and I was like, hey, do you live in Michigan? Because we're getting like the exact same weather. And she was like, no, I'm in Ohio. And we were like, best friends for life. No, but she's been a great friend to me in the short time that we've known each other. Very deeply caring about her buddies. Again, a fun person to talk to. And I just can't appreciate her companionship enough. She does her own streams, which are fun to watch. And Symph, I love you. You're a cool lady, even if you are an OSU fan. So on January 16th, YouTube announced that they were making changes to the partner program, and they were going to remove anyone that didn't have 1,000 subscribers, 10,000 views, or 4,000 hours of watch time in the last 12 months. This meant that my channel had to go, and I wasn't very happy about that, much like a lot of people who got booted out of the program. In response, I made a stupid, fucking angry, reactionary video that I really regret and eventually made private because it just came off as immature and whatnot. Like, I still disagree with the decision that they made, but I really wish that I had made my response more tongue-in-cheek like a social impact video was.
And now, a social impact video.
Hi, I'm skull902, and I'm here to talk about an important social issue, because that's obviously what everyone wants to hear from a comedy YouTuber.
In the end, I'll just say, I understand 10,000 lifetime views, I understand 1,000 subscribers, but I still do think that 4,000 hours of watch time in the previous year was really pushing it. But, you know, it's just another goal to work towards, and I soon got over it because I knew that I had the capability to work my way back up to those thresholds. With OBS, I started streaming on January 17th with a test stream that I co-hosted with Rabid. We played the first 3 zones of Sonic 3 just as a bit of a test. That video didn't stay up, but the next 2 test streams that I did on January 20th and 21st did stay up. I did those with Symph, and I realized that she had a natural knack for hosting things, which I think kind of encouraged her to do her own live streams. Could be completely wrong about that. Symph, please let me know. And after that, the first proper live stream was held on January 31st. I have a fun time live streaming games and having talks with anyone who watches. A lot of crazy stuff has happened.
Oh yeah, I'm Tails. I can fly up here.
Don't get crushed.
And he swims too, just like in Sonic 3. Lol. Oh, I got crushed.
Semen.
Jesus Christ!
Now
Get
I'm
him.
a labyrinth boss with no rings.
God damn it.
Oh man. I believe in you!
Oh, didn't die. What the fuck?
What?
You'll see it.
Okay.
That was bullshit. I beat the level.
Oh my god!
What?
Rabbit,
Yeah.
this was necessary. I'm sorry. I love you!
Did you point? You're gonna point the gun down. Look at him shoot the ground in angst before he shoots his best friend.
No! Me!
And just think, all of this could have been prevented if he had just held it in his bladder for a little longer.
F12.
No. Hear me out. I think that there can be both a Skull Sonic fanfic and a Skull X Pizza fanfic.
Yeah, it's called a harem fic.
Oh my god. There you go. I bet you're hungry after. Do not throw your food.
My question is, why is it that her ass explodes on impact?
Well,
because she's thick as fuck!
But anytime that I press that start streaming button in OBS, I just have a grand old time, and I really appreciate that anyone does show up to watch me play a video game very shittily. Speaking of me shittily playing video games, I started 3 LPs in the month of January. Those were Tails in Sonic 1, Knuckles in Sonic 2, and Sonic Chaos. For Tails in Sonic 1 and Knuckles in Sonic 2, these were actually going to be exclusive to a site called VidMe, which unfortunately kicked the bucket a month before. So I decided, just kind of like as an apology for my original Sonic 1 and 2 LPs, that I was going to do those ones. I do believe that I did better, but as you could no doubt tell by my shittily playing video games remark, I still believe that I have some improvements to make to not only my gameplay, but my commentary and whatnot. But, you know, I had a fun time making those. And Sonic Chaos is a very short game, so I was like, hey, I'll just do that too. These LPs would be delayed by quite a bit because I had other projects that I was worrying about, but for now, that's just when I started them. Sonic's predecessor was the first skit released this year on January 31st. I actually showed it on my stream that I did that day, but it wasn't like a premiere stream because I had had the video public for a couple hours before I did that stream, but first time I showed a video on stream. Anyway, it's a video that I think could be a bit better because, like, the spacing between the lines I think was a little too much, and I think that it definitely could have used some music, but I still like the idea that Sonic, like, runs into Alex Kidd and he's Alex Man now and all that stuff. It was a good time, and I definitely loved Rabbit's performance in it. The first marathon stream that I did was held on February 2nd. I did the Mini Ranger-thon, which was like almost 4 hours long, where I played Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the Genesis, Car Ranger, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the Super Nintendo, which at that point I had just recently beaten for the first time. I had a pretty good time hanging out with Symph and Rabbit that day, even if I did die to Mutitis way too many times. Knuckles is Lonely was the next Sprite skit that I had planned, but the production of that was stalled by a cold that I got, which was pretty nasty and took me out for like 9 or 10 days, which also affected the production of Amy is Best Anime as well, but I'll get into that a little later. Thankfully, I did recover from said cold, and the short was released on February 16th. The idea for the skit came from my little brother, actually, because we were just having a random conversation the previous year, where he mentioned Knuckles being all by himself and hanging out with the Master Emerald that had, like, googly eyes glued onto it, and I thought that that was just too good to not make into a video, so I have my little brother to thank for brainstorming with me on that one. That was the first video that I showed in a premiere stream, which, again, was held on February 16th. It was after the Sonic Song 182 live stream. I had KN and Musical Sushi on as guests, and I played through Sonic Classic Heroes, because I saw the skit as a Team Sonic skit, and that's a Team Sonic game, unless of course you're playing as the Chaotix. But that was another really fun time. I think a hashtag like Get Skull to 1,000 subs or something got started, and I was really moved by that gesture. But much like in December, it was another really fun time hanging out with KN, and also Sushi was along for the ride as well. We had good conversations about like who our favorite Sonic characters were, and I kept screwing up my singing.
But deep in my heart, I can't do it, I'm too nervous.
It was an absolute blast. On February 20th, I was let go from the YouTube Partner Program, which ended a 2.5-year run with monetization on my channel. Like I said, I do believe myself to have the capacity to work my way back up to meeting the standards for YouTube Partnership, so if anyone who is watching this might have also been affected by that change, I just want to try to encourage you, But it's not impossible to get back. Just work your hardest and believe, man. That's what you gotta do, is believe. Believe in yourself, and things will turn out alright. Another big milestone. I hit 1,000 subscribers on March 15th, and I decided to hold a stream impromptu in celebration of it. A nice look back with me and Rabbit on some videos that I made over my time as a YouTuber up to that point. Again, I just can't thank you guys for the support. I've got to imagine that sort of the drive that some people started contributed to the 1,000 subscribers, and I've got to give a special thanks to Josh, who actually became my 1,000th subscriber and recorded evidence of it as well. That was a joke that he made a long time ago, and I'm surprised that he remembered, because I didn't, that he was going to look out for whenever my channel had 999 subs so that he could be the 1,000th one. So again, Josh, thank you for being number 1,000, and thank you to everyone else who has subscribed to my channel before and since this point. So the first official special event stream of mine was WrestleMania that I had in commemoration of this year's WrestleMania on April 7th. This was something that I wanted to get done for a little while, play some wrestling games on my channel for WrestleMania. I challenged Jazzy to like a wrestling trivia game in order to determine who the true Team 182 champion was, but he was just too scared of my challenge and decided to drop out. So I decided to have sort of a gauntlet thing going on with the games, and I got a 3-1 record in my challenges. Fucking Doink the Clown, though.
I wanted to play some old games from my childhood that I haven't played in at least like 6 years, but ooh.
This game just immediately kicks you right in the balls and repeatedly slaps you in the face.
So aside from WWF Raw, that was a pretty fun night. It went by a lot faster than I thought it would too, but still a good time with Symph and Rabid. Love my buddies. You guys are just so awesome. Unfortunately, my third voice acting hiatus started in April, which really affected the production of Amiya's Best Anime. I don't even know what happened. I was just talking to Rabbit and Josh on Skype or Discord or something, and my throat again just started feeling the same way that it had a few years prior. That it just felt weird, and my throat felt very compressed and whatnot. I just wasn't able to do my voices. Thankfully, it didn't affect me for a year and a half. It was only 3 months, but still a scary time. Much like December, May became an incredibly productive month for me. It started off with the conclusions of Tails in Sonic 1, Knuckles in Sonic 2, and Sonic Chaos. I got a major boost of inspiration from Clement's anniversary video. Kinda like this one. I don't know what it is, it's just that like whenever I go on a voice acting hiatus, I just get a huge drive to do video game commentary, and Clement's video really helped out with that. I just really wanted to do it because that was like the only thing that I could do, and I did quite a bit of it over the next couple of months. Speaking of Clement, I made the Son of a Bitch Eggman compilation as a tribute for his 10th anniversary. I had noticed that nobody did it before. Someone had made like the egg montage before where the Eggman plush introduced all of the boss names or whatever, but no son of a bitch compilation, so I took it upon myself to do it. Took like the better part of a day to edit due to various things, but you know, it was all worth it. The skit Eggman Says Naughties came about from that video. I don't know why I came up with that name, I just wanted something really stupid sounding. I did all the filming actually before Rabbit did his voice acting, so it's got like a cheap sort of thing for the only part that I tried to do proper lip sync on, but that was a really neat thing to film. I did the Ultimate Flash Sonic LP on May 15th because it was a Flash game that I remembered from back in the day that I really enjoyed. I have some plans to do some more old Flash games, but don't quite know when those plans will come to fruition, but you know, definitely gonna look into some more stuff involving old Flash games that I can do. The Big Time Super Stream, which was named that simply because I was playing Big Story and Sonic Adventure DX, that came about on May 18th. I got KN, Ames, Miracle, Symph, Rabbit, and Toby Tots to be on stream, and that was a great time. Followed another appearance of mine on the Sonic Song stream. I remember KN had technical difficulties, and Toby and I had a conversation about jugs.
Zona. But like an entire jug.
What about jugs?
Jugs of Dr. Pepper?
I legitimately innocently asked that, by the way.
What about tots?
Oh,
Did you know that jugs are amazing?
Yes.
What?
They're great.
Uh-huh.
Catch up with us, Symph. Jugs are great.
Jugs are pretty rad.
Talking about.
It was a great time. On May 22nd, I uploaded a trailer for my Sonic 3 and Knuckles LP, which I had alluded in previous updates to a special element to the 3 and Knuckles LP that I would be putting in, but the first time that anyone got a taste of it was with this trailer, which also served as the intro for a video that I would make later on. Between May 24th and June 24th, I uploaded at least one video or streamed every single day. This is easily the most productive period of time ever for me on YouTube, and I personally thought of it as a really big challenge, but also fun. During that time, most of the content that I was uploading was the Sonic 3 and K LP as Sonic, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the Super Nintendo, and Sonic 3 and K as Knuckles. I remember for the Sonic 3 and K LP, I had tried to record it the previous summer and made a fuck ton of attempts, but I just personally wasn't very happy with the footage that I had decided on, so I was like, you know what, whenever I get my own computer, I'm gonna re-record it. So that time came in May, and again it was another period of, oh man, I hate this fucking recording, so I think between all the recording attempts that I made last year and this year for my 3 and K LP, that I had like 30 for the Sonic run. It was insane before I got one that I was actually really proud of. In the Sonic run, I didn't die a single time, which was actually a first for me. And on the very day that I had recorded it, there was another failed attempt where, again, I hadn't died up to the end of Launch Base Zone, and then, like, I got a very brief power outage, and that footage was just unusable after that. I wasn't very happy with that, but I was rewarded with my patience for a run as Sonic where I didn't die a single time, and that makes me very happy. For the Knuckles run, I also had quite a bit of luck. I died only 3 times, one of which was, unfortunately, via crushing. That's a sort of in-joke that Symph and I have about crushing. It's weird. Anyway, the Knuckles run was also fun, but I was definitely having a hard time coming up with stuff to talk about near the end. And then Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the Super Nintendo was something that I would sprinkle in between a few parts of the 3 and Knuckles LPs as something to break up the monotony, I suppose. That was a game that I thought was pretty fun to do, except for the end because I didn't know about the hard strike that you could do in the Megazord levels. Man, that was really stupid of me, but still a fun time commentating over it. I just love doing game commentary, and Having this much to do in that short amount of time, it was definitely tiring for me because I wasn't used to it, but I'm glad that I got that experience. So the special element in my Sonic 3 and Knuckles LP, specifically the Sonic run and the first part of the Knuckles run, was that after each part I would do a small machinima segment as like a parody of the level that I was going through. Those were all compiled into a video called Sonic 3 and Knuckles, a machinima parody, that was released on June 7th with a re-upload on the 20th. The reason why I re-uploaded it was because of the credits. I fucked up the credits a bit, so I went ahead and privatized the first video and quickly fixed up the credits and uploaded it a second time. But getting away from that, machinima is a type of filmmaking that I had really wanted to get into for a long time. I had been cast in a couple of Brawl machinimas that went nowhere, and like I was a big fan of Red vs. Blue in the late 2000s, so I just wanted to make one of my own. Up until that point, I had only been in a couple of machinima videos that Sonic Fiend had made, but I definitely wanted to try it out for myself, and since I also liked a machinima called the Sonic Tales, I figured that doing it for 3 and Knuckles would be a good idea. And I also took inspiration from the skits that Cybershell did for his Sonic 2 LP. It took me over 4 hours to edit the video because lip syncing is a bitch. But I'm actually really proud of how it turned out. I think it might just be the best composed video that I've ever made. So I'm glad that the dream finally came true, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it as well. On June 10th, I uploaded a trailer for the Sonic Anniversary event that I was doing, and then on June 21st to 23rd, the streams took place, with a special conclusion video on June 24th. Even if things did get crazy at times...
Team Chaotic! No. We're the champions!
No, we're all... No,
oh
shit! Which Chaos Emerald are you?
I'm the green one.
Oh, she did it!
I couldn't resist!
Oh my
I
god!
couldn't resist!
Guys,
I had to do it! I had to do it!
On the purple
Nobody
one.
gave me the idea! I blame you!
What?
What?
We got I Need a Hero Bomb. And here we have Rouge driving the penis mobile.
Oh yeah.
Right in front of her is the shaft, and to the left and right are the testicles.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tom, but that is a freaking penis.
What do you just like take me on a guided tour of what a penis looks like, or what?
Yeah.
It's another Sega game called Jet Set Radio Future, and like one of the songs that was licensed for the game was like censored for the game's release, right? Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah. I'm glad that song killed you.
The thing that they censored out of the song was during an instrumental break. There was a creepy monotone female voice giving very detailed instructions on how to suck dick.
Cool. Love it. Stroke it.
Call it George.
So when are we gonna go on like a 5-minute rant about vaginas?
Can we?
Yeah, we totally can.
Awesome. So, they look amazing.
Yeah.
He was talking about like how ugly penises are in comparison.
Listen.
And his joke was like that God spent so much time crafting the vagina that when it came time to make the penis, he freaked out and just rolled some Play-Doh together.
It's true though.
Everyone make sure to turn up your speakers even louder so your parents can hear it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Have you ever read synopsises of Cream Lemon songs?
I've only read the synopsis that's on top of the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, doesn't it sound amazing?
It sounds like the most fucking ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, well here, listen. In Cream Lemon, it...
I like how after that Knuckles was like, this isn't a joke, you know. I'll have you know I take my Cream Lemon very seriously, Rouge. Dear Takashi Izuka, can this be an official character trait for Knuckles?
Knuckles founded the Cream Lemon fan club, and he can recite every episode by heart. No, okay, Rouge, let's go make out, like episode 10 of Cream Lemon.
Sorry, there's no time for games, but there is time for cream lemon.
So first it was vaginas and penises.
Well, now it's gone on to porn, so it's still thematic.
Yeah. Synth knew it was immediately going to become this the second she left.
Yeah.
She was the innocent one in all of this. How old are your viewers again?
I really did have a good time doing this stream, and I've got to thank every single person who watched and who helped me out with the commentary and co-hosting and whatnot. You all made this event really special for me, and I'm glad that we were able to come together and make this happen. Definitely an undertaking. I was really nervous about doing all this streaming. It turned out to be like 23 hours within the space of 3 days, but I think that I was composed enough to make it work along with my friends, and again, it was just a really fantastic time. Day 3 in particular, where we were on for 12 hours. Holy fuck, man. That was a time and a half. I really enjoyed myself, and I can only hope that my co-hosts who were on the streams enjoyed themselves as well, because personally, to me, in my opinion, it was a fantastic event, and I'm just really glad with the way that that came out. So after years of delay, years and years of delay, 4 years, Sonic and Mario's 36th episode came out on June 26th, along with an anniversary stream for the series. Again, I'm really glad that I made the decision to release episode 36 like this. It was the first episode in HD, and I could entirely do it on this computer that I have here. And it gave me an opportunity to end the series in a slightly less rushed way. Got 4 episodes left, and I hope that anyone who has watched is excited to see what happens next for it. Again, I just had a really good time making this one, and to finally see the video come out after so long, it was great to me, and I hope that anyone who was waiting for all this time was satisfied with the results. So, a year in the making. The trailer for Amy is Best Anime came out on July 11th, and then the stream for it, Amy is Best Premiere, took place on July 27th. Again, following another appearance on the Sonic Song 182 stream, I had KN on for Amy is Best Premiere along with Symph and eventually Rabid. Again, another fun time. I played Amy in Sonic 1, which was a decent challenge because Amy actually plays like she does in the Sonic Advance games, and that makes you have to think a bit differently when you play this hack. And Amy's story in Sonic Adventure DX. Like I pointed out in the stream, I thought it was kind of funny to have KN and Rabbit on at the same time, because KN brings out the best in me and Rabbit brings out the worst in me. But I think it made for a neat combination, a neat assembly of commentators for the event. And it really warmed my heart that so many people showed up. My personal stream record was set during that event, 95 viewers at one point. I had 95 viewers just watching me play a video game. And man, I just appreciate that so much. So many subscribers too. I think I had something like 70 subscribers that day, and God, you guys are just so nice. Man, I don't know how I could possibly thank you guys enough for all the support. Again, you guys are just the best. So the video itself, Amy is Best Anime, was made public during the stream. I had uploaded it like a couple hours beforehand. This one, again, a year in the making. I wrote the video a year prior, and then I intended to start like the actual production of it in February. That eventually did get done, but it had to be delayed a little bit due to that sickness that I had. There were a few troubling points during production, like I thought that I was going to have to cancel a scene, and that's actually why we have the beach scene and the apology scene that takes place before it. So I wrote a little bit in there at the beginning of March, I think. But things turned out quite well, actually. I like the way that the video came out. It was definitely the first time that I really played around with effects, like specifically during the transformation sequence, I think, because I was using like backgroundless pictures for my frames, and I was using like preset animations in Vegas to create those effects. Glad with how that came out. And I'd say that the video is about 95% the way that I wanted it to come out, so I'm very happy with that. And the response that I got during the stream when it was premiering was amazing. Like near the end where Amy was saying that nobody was satisfied, I had people like chiming in and saying that they were satisfied, and it was just like, man, that's really sweet of you guys. And then when the credits started rolling, and I saw people like putting in clap emojis and stuff, like, you guys really warmed my heart that day. And the video, by my standards, kind of like exploded. It got to 1,000 views on August 5th, which is my first video since 2014 to get over 1,000 views. So again, I just have to thank you guys once more for the love and support. My fans mean the world to me, and I am really appreciative that you guys found the video to be, you know, really good and worth the wait and everything. It was definitely something that I considered like one of my biggest, if not my absolute biggest project of this year. And again, it just really makes me happy that you guys enjoyed it. That's, at the end of the day, what I do is I make videos to make other people happy. And I'm glad that it seems like my mission was accomplished with this video. So again, just thank you guys so much. That does it for this little retrospective. Once again, I do this for you guys, and I very much appreciate you sticking around to watch my videos and everything. This has just been incredible. Like, stuff like the hashtags that you guys make during the live streams, or nicknames like how Symph calls me Boss, or Papa Skull, I love that one. Fan art. I actually fucking have fan art. People have actually come to me with stuff that they made, like, specifically because they liked me, and I'm absolutely blown away by that anyone would like me enough to draw something for me for free. All the interaction that I have with you guys, as well as having the opportunity to, even if it is just like a very brief exchange of words, conversations with people that I either liked beforehand or would become a fan of them myself. People like Mega G Wolf, Guru Larry, GGD, PatMac, Shadow759, Courtney Project SNT. Like, I have been blessed with this opportunity by Monkey Dude to meet a lot of cool people. I've made a whole bunch of friendships, and I've had a lot of fun making videos for YouTube. This has just been an incredible ride. Where do we go next? I'm not certain, but I hope you guys are just as excited as I am to find out. Until then, I have been skull902. Hope you enjoyed my fucking long-ass ramblings. Have a wonderful day, and thank you.